Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. If any of you are new to the channel, then subscribe immediately and also give me any suggestions for new content or new videos. Bring in the movie called What If Peter Parker 616 was Isakai. Link down in description of the fanfiction This What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. This What If is a crossover of Marvel 616, the daily life of a middle-aged online shopper in another world and World of Warcraft. Chapter 1, A Final Decision. The silence in the cheap hotel room was deafening. Peter Parker sat on the edge of the unmade bed, the phantom screams of New York City still echoing in his mind. Mayor Kingpin's face was plastered on every screen, declaring Spider-Man an enemy of the state. The public cheered. Mysterio's illusions, the betrayals, the weight of a city that hated him, it all culminated in this one, crushing moment. Otto Octavius had stolen his life, his body, his legacy, and turned it into a grotesque parody. 8 months. For 8 months, Peter had been trapped in his own mind, a prisoner in his own body, forced to watch as Otto Octavius, the superior Spider-Man, destroyed everything he had built. The relationships, the trust, the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, Peter Parker could make a difference. When Peter finally clawed his way back, the so-called heroes of Earth 616 barely blinked. Tony Stark had dismissed it with a wave of his hand. So you had a rough patch. Happens to the best of us. Reed Richards had been more clinical, more detached. Fascinating. The mental transference must have left residual traces. I'd love to run some tests. No one had asked if he was okay. No one had offered comfort. No one had treated him like a victim, because heroes weren't supposed to be victims. Peter stared at the red and blue suit crumpled in the corner. It wasn't a symbol of power anymore. It was a shroud, a chain binding him to a life of endless pain, endless sacrifice, and endless ingratitude. May was gone, not dead, but gone. She had remarried, moved to Florida, and decided that her nephew was too much drama. Peter didn't blame her. He had failed her, failed MJ, failed everyone. You know what? He whispered to the empty room. I'm done. The words hung in the air, heavier than any confession he had ever made. He had said those words before. He had quit before, but every time, he came back. Because great power demanded great responsibility. Because Uncle Ben's ghost wouldn't let him rest. Because the city needed Spider-Man. But the city didn't want Spider-Man. The city wanted a scapegoat. A punching bag. A convenient target for all its fear and anger. No more, Peter said, his voice stronger now. I'm not the only hero in this world. Let Thor deal with it. Let Tony deal with it. Let Reed Richards and his perfect family deal with it. I'm done cleaning up everyone else's mess. With a surge of finality, he snatched the suit, marched to the window, and threw it. He watched it fall, a splash of color against the grimy alley below, until it landed in a dumpster with a final, soft thud. The weight on his shoulders didn't just lessen. It vanished. I'm done, Peter Parker said, and for the first time in years, he slept peacefully. The next morning, Peter woke to sunlight streaming through a window he didn't remember opening. For a moment, he was confused. The cheap hotel room's curtain had been nailed shut. He sat up, blinking, and realized he had slept through the night without nightmares. No dreams of Uncle Ben. No dreams of Gwen. No dreams of MJ's body crumpled on the pavement. Just nothing. Rest. Peace. He stretched, feeling looser than he had in years. His body still ached, but differently now. Like an old injury finally starting to heal. The walk through the city was surreal. Peter moved through the crowds like a ghost. No one recognized him. No one pointed. No one screamed about the web-headed menace. The daily routine of New York continued around him, oblivious to the fact that their most famous hero, their most hated villain, was walking among them. He heard the whispers. The same people he had bled for, sacrificed for, nearly died for, spitting venom about a man they had never truly known. Where's that menace crawled off to? Good riddance. He was nothing but a troublemaker. Probably got himself killed. Finally. A wry, bitter smile touched Peter's lips. They have no idea. They have no idea what I gave up for them. He walked past the Daily Bugle building. Jonah Jameson's face was plastered on a massive screen, screaming about the disappearance of Spider-Man, and how The city's greatest threat is finally gone. I hope you're happy, Jameson. You got what you wanted. Peter kept walking. He had no destination in mind. He was just existing. For the first time in as long as he could remember, he wasn't racing toward a crisis. He wasn't calculating trajectory or web-line angles. He was just a man, walking through a city, with nowhere to be and nothing to do. He ended up at the public library. The familiarity of the space was comforting. He had spent countless hours here as a teenager, devouring science textbooks, dreaming of the future. Now he wandered the aisles, his fingers trailing over spines, looking for something, anything, that could distract him from the hollow ache in his chest. His hand stopped on a book. It was unassuming. A worn paperback with a faded cover depicting a fantasy landscape. The title read, The Daily Life of a Middle-Aged Online Shopper in Another World. Peter snorted. Sounds like a terrible Isakai light novel. But something made him pull it off the shelf. He found a quiet corner, sat down, and began to read. The story was simple. A man, tired of his mundane life, is transported to another world where he can use his knowledge of modern commerce to trade goods, build a business, and live peacefully. No epic battles. No world saving. Just a peaceful life. Peter lost himself in the pages. For a few precious hours, he wasn't Peter Parker, the former Spider-Man. He wasn't the man who had failed everyone he loved. He was just a reader, escaping into a world where problems could be solved with good business sense and a little ingenuity. He was so absorbed that he didn't notice the book begin to glow. It started subtly, a soft, ethereal light that seemed to come from the pages themselves. Peter blinked, looked around. No one else seemed to see it. The other library patrons continued reading, oblivious. What the hell? The glow intensified. The words on the page began to shift, rearrange, form patterns that hurt to look at. Peter tried to close the book, but his hands wouldn't move. The light enveloped him, warm and inviting, filling his vision until there was nothing else. And then the world dissolved. The new world. Peter felt his body tingle. Then burn. Then reforge. It wasn't painful, not exactly. It was more like growth. Like his body was being reshaped from the inside out, becoming something new, something better. His muscles lengthened, his bones strengthened, his senses sharpened. He could feel his mind expanding, connections forming where none had existed before. And then the light faded, and Peter was standing in a sun-drenched field under twin moons. He blinked, looked around. The air smelled different, cleaner, fresher, with a hint of flowers and something like cinnamon. The grass beneath his feet was soft, almost carpet-like. In the distance, he could see a forest of trees with purple leaves, their branches swaying in a gentle breeze. He looked down at his hands. They were different, stronger. The calluses from years of web slinging were gone, replaced by smooth, healthy skin. His clothes were different too, no more worn jeans and faded t-shirts. He wore a stylish, durable outfit that looked like something from a fantasy RPG. A dark jacket with silver trim, practical trousers, and boots that seemed to mold perfectly to his feet. I like it, Peter murmured, turning his hands over. I look cool. He flexed his fingers, tested his muscles. He was stronger than before, not just Spider-Man strong, but different. More balanced, more controlled, like his entire body had been optimized. A holographic screen flickered to life in front of his eyes, its interface clean and intuitive. System initialized. Welcome to your new life, Peter Vaughn. Name, Peter Vaughn. Race, human. Age, 25. Level, 1. Class, merchant. Stats, strength, 12. Agility, 15. Intelligence, 18. Endurance, 10. Charisma, 14. Luck, 20. Skills. Negotiation, level 1. Appraisal, level 1. Crafting, level 1. Cooking, level 1. Trading, level 1. Inventory, empty. Currency, 0 gold. Peter stared at the screen. Peter Vaughn. The name felt right. Peter Parker was the past, a life of pain and sacrifice and endless, thankless heroism. Peter Vaughn was the future. A new name for a new life. Okay, he said slowly. Okay, this is real. I'm really Isakai. He looked up at the twin moons, which hung in the sky like 2 silver coins. No stars. At least, not the stars he recognized. He was in another world, another reality, another dimension. And for the first time in as long as he could remember, Peter Parker, no, Peter Vaughn, felt truly free. He started walking. He didn't know where he was going, but for once, that didn't matter. There was no deadline, no villain to stop, no city to save. He could just walk, explore, see where the path took him. As he walked, he noticed things. The animals in this world were different, small, furry creatures with iridescent fur that scurried away at his approach. The trees seemed to hum with a faint magical energy. The air itself felt alive, charged with a potential he couldn't quite define. He found a road eventually, a well-traveled path of packed dirt and gravel. And on that road, a merchant's cart was broken down, its wheel shattered, its goods spilling onto the ground. An old man stood beside it, his face lined with frustration and worry. He was human, or close enough, with graying hair and kind eyes. His clothes were travel-worn but clean, the practical attire of someone who spent their life on the road. "Damn wheel," the old man muttered, kicking the broken axle. "Always in the middle of nowhere." Peter approached cautiously. "Need a hand?" The old man looked up, startled. Then his expression shifted to relief. "Ah, young man, you wouldn't happen to be a craftsman, would you?" Peter examined the broken wheel. It was a simple design, but the materials were different, some kind of wood he didn't recognize, held together with iron bindings. His appraisal skill flickered to life, giving him information about the components, the damage, the repair requirements. "I can fix it," he said. "Might take a few minutes, but I can fix it." The old man's face lit up. "Really? You'd do that for a stranger?" Peter smiled, a genuine smile, free of the weight he had carried for so long. "I've got nothing else to do. And helping people is kind of what I do. Or what I used to do. It's a habit." As he worked, the old man introduced himself. His name was Aldrich, a traveling merchant who specialized in exotic goods from the Eastern Kingdoms. He was heading to a town called Ashenvale, where he had a regular stall at the market. "What about you, young man?" Aldrich asked as Peter reinforced the wheel with a makeshift brace. "What brings you to these parts?" Peter paused. "How did you explain that you had been transported from another world by a magical book? That you had given up a life of heroism for, whatever this was?" "I'm starting over," he said finally. "New life, new name. I'm just figuring things out." Aldrich nodded sagely. "A clean slate. There's nothing more valuable than that." He studied Peter's clothes, his bearing. "You've got the look of someone who was in a hurry to leave something behind." "You could say that." The old man didn't press. Instead, he offered Peter a ride to Ashenvale. "I could use someone with your skills. And besides, every traveler needs a companion." Peter accepted without hesitation. Ashenvale. The town was beautiful, a charming settlement of stone buildings and thatched roofs, nestled in a valley surrounded by rolling hills. Smoke rose from chimneys. Children played in the streets. The market was bustling with activity, merchants hawking their wares, customers haggling over prices. Peter looked at it all and felt peace. Aldrich introduced him to the local merchants, helped him secure a small room at the inn, and gave him a handful of silver coins as payment for his help. "It's not much," the old man said, "but it's a start." "A start," Peter repeated, turning the coins over in his hand. "That's all I need." Over the next few days, Peter explored Ashenvale. He learned about the local economy, the trade routes, the demand for certain goods. His negotiation and appraisal skills grew rapidly, his mind absorbing information like a sponge. He also discovered something else. This world had its own problems. In the market square, he saw beastmen, creatures with animal features, being treated poorly. They were charged higher prices, barred from certain establishments, and generally looked down upon. Peter had seen racism before, in his old world. He had fought against it. But here, it was more institutionalized, more accepted. "This isn't right," he said to himself. "This isn't right at all." He made a decision. Peter Vaughn would be different. He would treat everyone equally, regardless of race or species. He would build a business that served everyone, that helped everyone, that lifted everyone up. He wouldn't be Spider-Man, saving people from physical threats. He would be something else, someone who saved people from poverty, from prejudice, from the chains of circumstance. He started small. A tiny stall in the market. A few simple goods he had crafted himself. And he treated every customer with respect, regardless of who, or what, they were. Word spread. The beastmen, especially, appreciated his approach. A young lion man named Thorn became a regular customer. A fox woman named Sable brought him trade goods from distant lands. An elderly elephantkin male, massive, fully anthropomorphic, with tusks that gleamed in the sun, offered him a partnership. "You treat my people with dignity," the elephantkin said, his voice a deep rumble. "That is rare. That is valuable. I would like to do business with you." Petter shook his hand. "I'd be honored." A new home. Weeks turned into months. Petter's little stall grew into a shop, then a small business. He hired beastmen and humans alike, paying them fairly, treating them as equals. His reputation spread beyond Ashenvale, reaching other towns, other cities. He never felt guilty about his old life. He missed people, friends who had been part of his journey, even if they had ultimately failed him. But he didn't miss the weight. The constant, crushing weight of a world that expected him to save it and then hated him for trying. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the valley, Petter sat on the roof of his shop, a cup of tea in his hand, and looked out at the world he had found. The system screen flickered to life, showing his progress. Name: Petter Vaughn. Level: 8. Class: Merchant. Title: The Fair Trader. Stats: Strength: 14. Agility: 17. Intelligence: 22. Endurance: 13. Charisma: 19. Luck: 24. Skills: Negotiation Level 5. Appraisal Level 6. Crafting Level 4. Cooking Level 3. Trading Level 5. Skills unlocked: Carpentry Level 2. Alchemy Level 1. Enchanting Level 1. Business Management Level 3. Inventory: Various trade goods, crafting materials. Currency: 1,250 gold. He smiled. His stats reflected his life now, focused on intelligence, charisma, and luck. He was no longer a warrior. He was a merchant, a businessman, a man who solved problems with negotiation, not violence. This is what I always wanted, he thought. A normal life. A peaceful life. A life where I can help people without having to bleed for them. A soft knock on the roof access hatch drew his attention. A young woman, one of his employees, a human girl named Emma, poked her head up. "Petter, there's someone at the door. They say they have a delivery from the Eastern Kingdoms. Something about a shipment of rare herbs." Petter climbed down, his boots making soft sounds on the wooden roof. "Coming." As he walked through his shop, past the shelves of goods and the cozy seating area he had built for his customers, he felt a sense of contentment he had never known. He didn't know what the future held. He didn't know if some great evil would eventually find its way to this peaceful world. He didn't know if his past would ever catch up to him. But for now, he was Petter Vaughn. He was a merchant, a businessman, a friend. He was living the life he had always dreamed of. And he wouldn't trade it for anything. Chapter 2. A New Herd. The river had been a roaring beast, its icy waters dragging Petter under with relentless force. He had fought against it, muscles straining, lungs burning, but the current was too strong, the wounds on his chest too severe. The wolf creature's claws had raked deep, and the blood loss was making him sluggish. "Parker luck strikes again," he muttered through gritted teeth, just before the darkness claimed him. Awakening. He awoke to a gentle pressure on his forehead. A soft, curious voice spoke above him, warm and melodic. "Well now, isn't he quite a cutie?" Petter blinked, his vision swimming into focus. The first thing he noticed was the ceiling, woven reeds and wooden beams, clearly a structure built by hand. The second thing he noticed was the smell: earth, herbs, and something floral, like jasmine mixed with honey. The third thing he noticed was the face looking down at him. She was beautiful, there was no other word for it. Her skin was a rich, smooth dark brown, like polished mahogany. Her hair was a vibrant, almost unreal shade of blue, cascading over her shoulders in waves. Her eyes were large and warm, the color of amber, and her smile was genuine, kind. But it was her ears that caught his attention. They were large, elegant, and unmistakably elephantine, flapping gently as she studied him with open curiosity. A tail, similarly elephantine, swished lazily behind her. His system screen flickered to life, providing information in its usual helpful manner. Name: Eleanor. Race: Elephantkin, Asian elephant. Age: 24. Class: herbalist caretaker. Status: curious, concerned, mildly amused. Eleanor. Petter filed the name away, his mind already cataloging details. She was an elephantkin, a beast woman with elephant features. And from the warmth in her eyes, she was clearly the one who had saved him. "Where am I?" he croaked, his voice rough from the river water. "Safe," Eleanor said, still stroking his hair. "You're in our village. The river brought you to us, and we couldn't just leave you to drown." A second voice cut through the warmth, harsh and suspicious. "I say we leave the human to rot." Petter turned his head slowly, painfully, to see another woman standing in the doorway. This one was taller, more imposing, her features sharper. Her skin was a warm brown, her hair short and practical, and her ears, larger than Eleanor's, with the distinct shape of an African bush elephant, were pinned back in annoyance. A trunk, long and powerful, twitched as she sniffed the air around him. The system helpfully provided another notification. Name: Ilsa. Race: Elephantkin, African bush elephant. Age: 27. Class: hunter-warrior. Status: suspicious, protective, irritated. "Come on, Ilsa," Eleanor chided gently. "He's unconscious and hurt. He deserves compassion. Look at his wounds, he was attacked by something. He's not a threat." Ilsa's trunk twitched again. "He's a human. Humans bring trouble. They always do." "Not all humans," Eleanor said firmly. "And he's not in any condition to cause trouble anyway. Just give him a chance." Ilsa grumbled something under her breath, but she didn't argue further. Instead, she crossed her arms and glared at Petter, her eyes promising violence if he stepped out of line. "Fine," she said at last. "But he better not do anything funny. Or I'll personally toss him back in the river." Eleanor beamed. "Thank you, Ilsa. Whatever. Recovery." The next few days were a blur of healing and rest. Eleanor tended to his wounds with remarkable skill, applying poultices that smelled of herbs and honey, changing bandages with gentle efficiency. She was clearly experienced in medicine, and her knowledge of the local flora was extensive. "The claw marks were deep," she explained as she worked. "But you're healing fast, faster than any human I've ever seen." "What are you?" Petter considered lying, but something in Eleanor's kind eyes made him want to be honest. "I'm not exactly normal. I used to be something else. Someone else." She tilted her head, her large ears flapping. "Used to be. I was a hero. In another world. Another life." He paused, unsure how much to reveal. "I'm starting over." Eleanor studied him for a long moment, her amber eyes unreadable. Then she smiled, warm and genuine. "Well, Petter Vaughn, welcome to your new life. Whatever you were before, you're here now. And here, you can be whoever you want to be." The words hit him harder than any villain's punch. For the first time in years, someone was telling him he had a choice. That his past didn't have to define him. "Thank you," he said, his voice rough with emotion. Eleanor patted his cheek. "Rest. Heal. When you're ready, we'll show you the village." The village. When Petter finally ventured outside, he was struck by the beauty of the place. The village was nestled in a valley, surrounded by towering trees with leaves that shimmered silver in the sunlight. The buildings were crafted from wood and stone, their roofs thatched with some kind of golden reed. Paths wound between them, lined with flowers that glowed faintly in the twilight. And everywhere, there were elephantkin. The village was home to dozens of them, each one unique. Some were more bestial, massive, fully anthropomorphic elephants with thick hides and powerful trunks. Others, like Eleanor and Ilsa, were more human in form, their only elephantine features being their ears and tails. Petter's system helpfully identified them all, providing names, classes, and brief descriptions. He saw children playing in the streets, their trunks splashing each other with water from a nearby fountain. He saw elders sitting in the shade, their massive forms a testament to years of wisdom and experience. He saw hunters returning from a successful trip, carrying meat and hides. He saw mothers nursing their young, merchants trading goods, craftsmen working with wood and stone. It was a community, a family, something he had never truly had, not since Aunt May had remarried and moved away, not since MJ had been taken from him, not since the world had turned its back on Spider-Man. The village elder approached him, a mountain of muscle named Tusker. He was massive, easily the largest elephantkin Petter had seen, his tusks gleaming with age, his eyes sharp and wise. Name: Tusker. Race: Elephantkin ancient. Age: 178. Class: Village Elder Protector. Status: observant, curious, respectful. So, Tusker said, his voice a deep rumble that seemed to come from the earth itself. You are the human that was washed ashore. Your clothes are strange. Your demeanor is calm. You are unique. Petter met the elder's gaze without flinching. I've been through a lot. It takes more than a river to break me. Tusker's lips curled into something that might have been a smile. I can see that. You carry yourself like a warrior, even if you are not one now. What is your story, Petter Von? Petter took a deep breath. He could lie. He could make up a story about being a lost traveler, a merchant, anything. But something about Tusker's steady gaze made him want to be honest. What I'm about to tell you will sound crazy, he said. But I need you to know that I'm not a threat. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm just tired. And so he told them everything. He told them about the spider bite, the great power and great responsibility, Uncle Ben's death, the weight of a city that both needed and hated him. He told them about the Civil War, about being unmasked, about the assassin's bullet that killed MJ. He told them about Aunt May's rejection, about being sent to the raft, about dying in the ocean, or as close to dying as he had ever come. He told them about Dr. Octopus. About having his body stolen, his mind imprisoned, his legacy tarnished. About the superior Spider-Man in the 8 months he had been forced to watch as Otto Octavius destroyed everything Peter Parker had ever built. He told them about the heroes who had failed him. The Avengers, who had treated him like a problem to be solved. Iron Man, with his arrogance and disregard for anyone who wasn't useful. The Fantastic Four, who had studied his suffering like it was a scientific curiosity. He told them about quitting. About throwing the suit in a dumpster and walking away. About the glowing book and the new world and the second chance he had been given. When he finished, the village was silent. The adults looked at him with a newfound respect for the weight he had carried. The children stared wide-eyed at the tale of a hero betrayed, their trunks curling with emotion. Even Ilsa, who had been so suspicious, had softened, her arms uncrossed. Eleanor was the first to break the silence. You endured all of that, alone. Petter shrugged, trying to be casual. It's what I do. What I did. It's not important. Not important. Eleanor's voice rose, her amber eyes flashing with anger, not at him, but on his behalf. You were betrayed by everyone you trusted. You were used, discarded, and treated like garbage. And after all of it, you still found it in your heart to help others. To save a wounded stranger. It's a habit, Petter admitted. Hard to break. Tusker placed a heavy, comforting hand on Petter's shoulder, a gesture that felt like a blessing. A hero is not defined by the praise of the crowd, the elder rumbled, but by the strength of his heart. You have endured much, Petter Von. And you have shown that your heart is still whole. You are welcome here. We can use a man of your spirit. Petter felt his eyes sting. I don't know what to say. Say you'll stay, Eleanor said, her voice soft but firm. Say you'll let us be your new family. Are you sure? I've brought a lot of trouble to people I care about. Tusker laughed, a booming sound that shook the walls. We are Elephantkin. We are strong, we are loyal, and we do not abandon our own. The trouble you bring will be met with tusks and trunks, and it will not stand. Petter looked around at the gathered faces, Eleanor's warmth, Ilsa's grudging respect, the children's hero worship. And for the first time in as long as he could remember, he felt like he belonged. I'll stay, he said softly. A new life. The months that followed were the happiest Petter had ever known. He found a purpose that was simple and pure. He used his engineering skills to build better structures, stronger defenses, more efficient tools. His crafting ability allowed him to create items of remarkable quality, and his trading skill helped him negotiate fair deals with passing merchants. He helped the hunters with their work, using his enhanced strength to haul game and his crafting to create better weapons. He helped the farmers, using his nature manipulation to encourage crop growth. He helped the children, telling them stories of his old world, carefully edited versions, of course. And every night, he slept soundly, free of the nightmares that had plagued him for years. His system screen reflected his progress. Name: Petter Von. Level: 5-0. Class: Merchant Craftsman Protector. Title: The Beloved Outsider. Stats: Strength, 45. Agility, 38. Intelligence, 55. Endurance, 40. Charisma, 48. Luck, 42. Skills: Negotiation, level 12. Appraisal, level 14. Crafting, level 16. Cooking, level 8. Trading, level 15. Carpentry, level 10. Alchemy, level 7. Enchanting, level 5. Business Management, level 11. Engineering, level 15. Nature Manipulation, level 8. Inventory. Various trade goods, crafting materials, weapons, armor. Currency: 12,500 gold. He had grown stronger, not just in levels, but in spirit. The weight of his past was still there, a scar on his soul that would never fully heal. But it was manageable now. It was part of him, not the whole of him. Eleanor. Some nights, Eleanor would curl up beside him as he slept. It had started slowly, a hand on his shoulder, a warm presence in the darkness. Eleanor was a healer, a caretaker by nature, and she had taken it upon herself to ensure that Petter's recovery was complete. But there was something more in her touch. Something warm and personal. "Tell me about her," Eleanor said one night, her head resting on his chest. "The woman you lost." Petter was silent for a moment. "Mary Jane. MJ. She was everything. The love of my life. I should have protected her better." MJ. Not a very elegant name. It was a nickname. Her real name was Mary Jane Watson. Eleanor's trunk gently poked his cheek. "Watson. That's a strange name. It's a last name. You know, family name." "Ah, like Tusker." "Yeah, like Tusker." They lay in comfortable silence for a while. Then Eleanor spoke again, her voice soft and slightly hurt. "You were in love with this MJ. I understand that. But you're in another world now. Your memories are safe, but your heart." Petter turned to look at her, his eyes meeting hers in the dim light. "What are you trying to say?" Eleanor's cheeks flushed a deeper brown. "I am saying that I enjoy being with you, Petter. That I would like to be with you, more. If you would have me." Petter blinked, his processor taking a moment to catch up. "You mean?" "I mean, I want to court you. You see, in our village, the females choose their mates. We are the ones who propose. So." She poked his chest again, more insistently this time. "I am proposing, Petter Vaughn. What do you say?" The memory of MJ and the pain of Paul were fading scars. Here, in this peaceful village, with this beautiful woman who had saved his life and given him a new home, Petter felt something he hadn't felt in years. "Hope. Eleanor," he said slowly, carefully. "I've been hurt before. I've lost people I loved. If I do this, if I let myself love you, I need to know you're in this for real. Not just for a season, but for life." Eleanor's smile was radiant. "Elephantkin mate for life, Petter. If you accept me, you are mine forever. And I will never let anyone hurt you again. I will be your healer, your companion, your wife. I will give you children if you want them, and I will stay by your side through every trial." Petter felt his heart swell. "Eleanor, yes, yes, I'll court you. I'll be with you. I'll be yours." Their kiss was soft, warm, and tasted like honey and hope. Peace. Petter Vaughn had quit being Spider-Man to find a normal life. Instead, he found something better, a life that was truly his own. He helped the Elephantkin with their work. He built better homes, stronger walls, more efficient irrigation systems. He traveled to nearby towns to trade goods, always returning with news and supplies. He fought off the occasional threat, bandits, monsters, the remnants of a world that still had its dangers. But he never fought alone. He had a herd, a family, a people who valued him not for his mask, but for his heart. And every night, Eleanor curled up beside him, her warm body a comfort, her love a shield against the darkness. The past was still there, the faces of the people he had lost, the weight of the life he had left behind. But it was manageable now. It was a scar, not an open wound. He had been given a second chance. And he would make sure no one ever robbed him of it again. Chapter 3, Trading Business and New Beginnings. The morning sun cast golden rays through the leaves of the silver trees as Petter Vaughn stepped out of his hut, stretching his arms above his head. The familiar ache of a good night's sleep, something he had never truly experienced in his old life, settled into his muscles like a welcome friend. Eleanor was already awake, her blue hair tied back in a practical ponytail, her trunk gently sorting through a basket of herbs. She looked up as he approached, her amber eyes warm with affection. "Good morning, Petter. Sleep well. Better than I have in years," he admitted, sitting beside her. "What's on the agenda today?" Eleanor's trunk curled into a smile. "Tusker wants to see you. Something about trade routes and the village's supplies. He thinks your business mind might be useful." Petter chuckled. "My business mind is mostly just common sense and a refusal to be ripped off. But I'll take the compliment." The trade dilemma. Tusker's hut was the largest in the village, a testament to his status as elder. Inside, the walls were adorned with tapestries depicting the Elephantkin's history, great hunts, migrations, and the occasional battle against monstrous beasts. Tusker himself sat on a massive cushion, his ancient eyes studying Petter with the patience of someone who had seen centuries pass. "Petter Vaughn," the elder rumbled. "You have been with us for months now. You have proven your worth in labor, in protection, and in heart. Now I ask for your mind." Petter inclined his head. "I'm listening. Our village is prosperous, but isolated. The nearest human settlement is 3 days' journey, and they have little interest in trading with beast folk." Tusker's trunk twitched with frustration. "We have goods, hides, herbs, crafted items, but no reliable way to sell them. Our people are strong, but they are not merchants." Petter nodded slowly. "You want me to establish a trade network. I want you to use your knowledge. Your skills. You have a way with negotiation that is rare among my people. You see opportunities where others see obstacles." "I can try," Petter said. "But I'll need supplies. A cart, some goods to start with, and whatever you need," Tusker interrupted. "You have earned our trust. Use it wisely." The first trade. 3 days later, Petter set out for the human settlement of Thornhaven with a cart full of Elephantkin goods, cured hides, medicinal herbs, and beautifully carved wooden items. Eleanor accompanied him, her presence a comfort and a practical asset. "A merchant's cart and a woman at my side," Petter mused as they walked. "This is definitely not what I expected from my new life." Eleanor's trunk poked his shoulder playfully. "You expected to be a hero, fighting monsters and saving the world. I expected to be alone, honestly. I never thought I'd find this. This, being a beautiful Elephantkin woman who adores you. This, being a reason to wake up in the morning." Eleanor's cheeks flushed a deeper brown, but her smile was radiant. Thornhaven was a modest settlement, its walls built from stone and timber, its streets crowded with merchants and travelers. Petter's cart drew curious looks. Elephantkin were rare in human lands, and their presence here was unusual. But Petter's calm demeanor and practiced negotiation skills soon won over the locals. "What is this?" a merchant asked, examining a bundle of dried herbs. "I've never seen anything like it." "Elephantkin healing herbs," Petter explained. "Excellent for infections, fevers, and general wellness. A small pouch costs 5 silver. 5 silver? That's outrageous. Then I'll keep them for myself." Petter began to pack the herbs away. "Of course, if you want to pay 4 silver, I might consider it." The merchant grumbled, but he bought the herbs. And then he bought more. And then he told his friends. By the end of the day, Petter's cart was empty, and his coin purse was heavy. "Well done," Eleanor said, her voice filled with pride. "You truly are a natural." Petter smiled. "I had a good teacher. My aunt taught me how to haggle. She was a master at it." "The aunt you mentioned, May." "Yes, May." Petter's smile faded slightly, but the pain was manageable now. "She taught me a lot. Even if things didn't end well between us, I'll always be grateful for that." Eleanor took his hand, her trunk wrapping gently around his wrist. "You carry your past with grace, Petter. That is a rare gift." The spice problem. The second trade expedition was where things got complicated. Petter had discovered a cache of exotic spices in the village's stores, cinnamon, cloves, pepper, and something called dragon's breath, that made his eyes water just from the smell. The Elephantkin had collected them over generations, not realizing their value in human markets. "These could be worth a fortune," Petter said, examining the spices with an appraising eye. "Do you realize how rare these are in this region?" Tusker's expression was troubled. "They are rare because they are illegal." "Illegal?" The elder nodded gravely. "The human kingdoms have strict laws regarding spices. They are controlled by noble families who use them to maintain power. Any commoner caught trading spices without a license is subject to imprisonment, or worse. Petter stared at the spices, his mind racing. That's insane. Spices are just seasoning. Food enhancers. They shouldn't be controlled like weapons. Tell that to the nobles, Tusker said dryly. They value their monopoly more than they value fairness. Petter was quiet for a long moment. Then a slow smile spread across his face, the same smile that had once made villains nervous. Then we do it secretly. Secretly. We create a black market, Petter explained. We trade spices to trusted buyers, people who won't talk. We build relationships over time, establish a network. And we use the profits to help the village. Tusker's trunk curled into a hesitant smile. You would risk imprisonment for us. I would risk a lot for people who have given me a home, Petter said simply. Besides, I've dealt with worse. At least there are no radioactive spiders in this world. The underground network. Establishing the black market took time, patience, and a lot of careful negotiation. Petter used his appraisal and negotiation skills to identify trustworthy buyers, his crafting to create discreet packaging, and his business management to keep the operation organized. Eleanor was his partner in crime, her knowledge of herbs and spices invaluable. Ilsa, to everyone's surprise, volunteered as a guard, her intimidating presence keeping unwanted attention at bay. We're building something important, Petter told them one night, as they worked by candlelight. Not just a trade network, but a symbol. A reminder that power doesn't have to be controlled by the wealthy and entitled. Eleanor's trunk wrapped around his shoulder. You speak like a revolutionary. I speak like someone who has been used and discarded by the powerful, Petter said quietly. I won't let that happen again. Not to me, and not to anyone I care about. Meeting Kenichi Hamada. The first sign that Petter wasn't the only one who had been transported to this world came on a cool autumn evening. A man walked into Thornhaven's market square, his clothes completely out of place, a modern suit, clearly from Earth, rumpled but still recognizable. He carried a satchel and looked around with the dazed expression of someone who had been through a very confusing experience. Petter's system screen flickered to life. Unknown entity detected. Scanning. Name: Kenichi Hamada. Race: human. Age: 37. Class: salaryman merchant. Status: confused, concerned, hopeful. Another Isakai victim. Petter approached cautiously, his hand resting on the wooden sword at his hip. Excuse me, he said. Are you lost? Kenichi looked up, his eyes wide with recognition. You're from Earth too, aren't you? I can tell. The way you move, the way you talk, you're not from here. I'm from here now, Petter said carefully. But yes, I was born on Earth. New York City, specifically. New York. Kenichi's face lit up. I'm from Tokyo. I was just going about my normal day when I got hit by a truck and woke up here. I thought I was dreaming, but then the system screen appeared and... System screen, Petter repeated. You have one too. Yes. It's how I got my class and skills. I'm trying to figure out how to make a living here, but everything is so different. Petter held up his hand. Slow down. Let's start from the beginning. My name is Petter Vaughn. I used to be someone else, but that's a story for another time. You said your name is Kenichi. Kenichi nodded, clearly relieved to find someone who understood. Kenichi Hamada. I was a salaryman, you know, office worker, in Tokyo. I wasn't happy. Long hours, demanding boss, no personal life. And then the truck. You died. I think so. Maybe. Everything went white, and then I was here. In this field. With this system telling me I was now a merchant. Petter smiled. Then we have more in common than I thought. I'm also a merchant. Well, a merchant, craftsman, and occasional protector. Kenichi's eyes widened. You're a merchant too. Maybe we can work together. Trade. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm good at organizing. I used to manage inventory for a department store. Petter extended his hand. Then welcome to the world of commerce, Kenichi. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful partnership. Partnership in progress. Kenichi proved to be an invaluable asset. His experience as a salaryman translated surprisingly well to the fantasy world. He was organized, detail-oriented, and skilled at logistics. Together, they established a formal trade network that connected Thornhaven, Ashenvale, and the Elephantkin village. We need a name, Kenichi said one evening, as they reviewed their ledgers. Something that sounds official. The Von Hamada Trading Company, Petter suggested. Too wordy. The Fair Trade Guild. Better, but a bit generic. Kenichi thought for a moment. What about the exchange? Simple, memorable, and implies equality in trade. Petter nodded slowly. I like it. The exchange. We'll make it a symbol of fair dealing and mutual benefit. Clean energy and technology. Petter's engineering skills soon found a new application. The Elephantkin village, while beautiful, had limited access to modern conveniences. Lighting was provided by oil lamps and candles, heating by wood fires. It was sustainable but inefficient. Using his engineering and crafting skills, Petter began developing alternatives. Solar panels were impossible, he didn't have the materials. But he had knowledge. He could create simple solar concentrators, using mirrors and lenses to focus sunlight for cooking and heating. He could build water wheels for milling and power generation. We can't copy Earth's technology exactly, he explained to Kenichi one day. We don't have the infrastructure. But we can adapt. We can create something new that fits this world. The locals would love you, Kenichi said. You're like a one-man industrial revolution. I'm just trying to help, Petter said with a shrug. It's what I do. He crafted a prototype solar cooker from locally sourced materials, demonstrating it to the village elders. The Elephantkin were amazed. They could boil water, cook food, and heat their homes without needing to burn wood. This is remarkable, Tusker rumbled. You have given us a gift that will last for generations. Petter smiled. It's just the beginning. I have ideas for irrigation systems, better housing, and maybe even a simple mechanical loom. I look forward to seeing them, the elder said. The automaton project. The automaton was Petter's most ambitious project yet. He had been sketching designs for weeks, combining his knowledge of robotics with the magical materials available in this world. It would be a simple machine at first, a laborer, capable of carrying heavy loads and performing basic tasks. But it would be a proof of concept, a demonstration that technology and magic could work together. This is going to take a lot of time and resources, Kenichi warned. I know, Petter replied. But think of what it could mean. A machine that doesn't tire, that doesn't complain, that can do the hard labor so people can focus on more important things. It's not going to replace people, is it? We're not trying to build a dystopia here. Petter shook his head. Never. This is about helping people, not replacing them. The automaton will be a tool, not a replacement. Kenichi nodded, satisfied. Good. Then let's build it. The work was slow and painstaking. Petter crafted each component by hand, using his crafting and engineering skills to shape metal, wood, and magical crystals. Kenichi helped with the logistics, sourcing materials and coordinating the labor. Months passed. The project progressed. And then, one evening, the automaton moved. Its eyes glowed with a soft blue light as it took its first step, a shuddering, uncertain movement that nearly sent it toppling over. But then it took another step, then another, and soon it was walking with purpose. By the gods, Kenichi breathed. It works. Petter felt a swell of pride unlike anything he had felt in years. It's just the beginning, he said. I have bigger plans. Much bigger plans. As the automaton took its first steps across the village square, watched by stunned Elephantkin and a smiling Kenichi, Petter Von knew that his new life was truly beginning. He had been given a second chance. And he was going to make the most of it. Chapter 4. Helping a Princess. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Elephantkin village as Petter Von put the finishing touches on his greatest creation yet. The automaton stood before him, a 7-foot-tall construct of steel, copper, and enchanted crystal, its form sleek and purposeful. Its eyes glowed with a soft blue light, and its joints moved with a smoothness that belied its mechanical nature. Almost there, Petter murmured, adjusting a final component. Just a little more. The automaton's eyes flickered, then stabilized. A low hum emanated from its core as its systems came online. System notification. Automaton, Alpha, successfully activated. Class, Laborer Protector. Status, Operational. Power source, Solar Energy Magical Crystal. Core Intelligence, Basic. Functions, Heavy lifting, construction, combat support. Petter stepped back, wiping the sweat from his brow. Alpha, can you hear me? The automaton's head turned toward him, its glowing eyes focusing on his face. A synthesized voice, surprisingly warm and melodic, responded, "I am Alpha. I am operational. How may I assist you, Creator?" Eleanor gasped from behind him, her trunk curling with surprise. "Petter. It speaks. It's just a basic language module," Petter explained, though he couldn't help the proud smile spreading across his face. "I wanted it to be able to communicate. It makes it easier to work with." Eleanor approached cautiously, her amber eyes wide with wonder. "It's beautiful. And you built it entirely by yourself." "With a lot of help from Kenichi," Petter admitted. "He sourced most of the materials. I just assembled them." Alpha's head turned toward Eleanor, its optical sensors scanning her form. Designation: Eleanor. Race: Elephantkin. Status: friendly. Affection level: high. Eleanor's cheeks flushed. "It knows about me. I programmed it to recognize our allies," Petter said. "It's a safety feature." Eleanor's trunk poked his shoulder playfully. "You're a clever one, Petter Vaughn. Just trying to make life easier for everyone." Kenichi's request. The celebration of Alpha's completion was interrupted by the arrival of a breathless Kenichi Hamada. The former salaryman was clearly distressed, his clothes rumpled, his hair disheveled. "Petter, thank the gods you're here," Kenichi gasped, leaning against a nearby tree. "I need your help." Petter's expression shifted from celebration to concern. "What happened? Are you hurt?" No, I'm fine. It's the princess." "The princess?" Kenichi nodded frantically. "I was in Thornhaven, trading, when I heard about it. Princess Anemone of the Sylvian Kingdom, she's been captured by bandits. They're holding her in a fortress in the mountains, demanding an impossible ransom." Petter's jaw tightened. "And you want to rescue her?" "She's just a girl, Petter. 18 years old, from what I heard. She doesn't deserve to be held captive by savages. And you don't think the kingdom's army can handle it?" Kenichi shook his head. "The bandits are clever. They've set up in an old fortress with magical defenses. The army can't get through without risking the princess's life. But you have Alpha now. And you've got skills no one else has." Petter was silent for a long moment. Old habits. The Spider-Man in him, the part he thought he had buried, was already analyzing the situation, calculating strategies, planning a rescue. "You quit," he reminded himself. "You're not a hero anymore. You're just a merchant, a craftsman, a man building a new life." But Kenichi's desperate eyes reminded him of something else, the faces of people he had saved in another life. The gratitude, the relief, the knowledge that he had made a difference. "Some habits die hard," he thought ruefully. "Okay," he said finally. "I'll help. But we do this my way. No unnecessary risks. We plan, we execute, and we get the princess out safely." Kenichi's face lit up. "Thank you, Petter. I knew I could count on you." "Don't thank me yet. We haven't succeeded. The rescue mission." The journey to the bandit fortress took 3 days. Petter traveled with Kenichi, Eleanor, Ilsa, and Alpha. The automaton proved invaluable, its strength allowing them to traverse difficult terrain and its internal sensors detecting hidden threats. The fortress was situated on a rocky outcropping, its walls ancient but still imposing. Bandits patrolled the perimeter, their weapons glinting in the sunlight. "We need a plan," Kenichi whispered, crouching behind a boulder. "Any ideas?" Petter studied the fortress through a pair of enchanted binoculars he had crafted. "I see 3 guard posts. 2 on the walls, 1 at the main gate. There's a weak point in the eastern wall, it's crumbling. We could use that. And the princess, she's likely in the central keep. I can see guards there, they're alert, but not expecting an attack." Ilsa cracked her knuckles. "So we fight our way in?" "No, we infiltrate." Petter turned to Alpha. "Alpha, can you create a distraction?" The automaton's eyes glowed brighter. "Affirmative, Creator. I can simulate a large-scale assault on the western gate. The bandits will be drawn to the commotion. And while they're distracted, we slip in through the eastern wall. Kenichi, you stay with Alpha and help maintain the distraction. Eleanor, Ilsa, and I will find the princess and get her out." Kenichi looked nervous. "Are you sure I can handle this?" "You've been handling trade negotiations with hostile merchants for months," Petter said dryly. "This is just a different kind of negotiation. Infiltration." The distraction worked perfectly. Alpha's simulated assault, using magical projections and enhanced sounds, drew the bandits to the western gate like ants to honey. While they scrambled to defend against a non-existent enemy, Petter, Eleanor, and Ilsa slipped through the crumbling eastern wall. The fortress was a labyrinth of stone corridors and torchlit chambers. Petter's enhanced senses guided them, his Spider-Man instincts, honed over years of combat, alerting him to threats before they materialized. "This way," he whispered, motioning the others forward. They found the princess in a tower chamber, her hands bound, her face pale but defiant. She was young, barely more than a girl, with blue hair and green eyes that held a fire that impressed Petter. "Are you here to rescue me?" she asked, her voice steady despite her circumstances. "We're here to get you out," Petter confirmed, his appraisal skill providing information as his system scanned her. Name: Anemone Lepatorium. Race: human. Age: 18. Class: Princess Healer. Status: captured, frightened, determined. "Anemone," Petter said, "we're getting you out of here. Stay close to us and do what we say." The princess nodded, her eyes flickering with hope. "Thank you. I knew someone would come." "Don't thank us yet," Ilsa muttered, her trunk twitching with alertness. "The guards will notice soon." They retreated through the fortress, moving quickly and quietly. But luck, or Parker luck, was not on their side. A bandit patrol intercepted them in the main courtyard, their leader a massive, scarred man with a cruel smile. "Thought you could sneak in and take our prize." The leader sneered. "Fools. The princess is worth a fortune. We won't let her go so easily." Petter sighed. "I was hoping it wouldn't come to this. Eleanor, Ilsa, protect the princess. I'll handle this." "You, alone." The bandit leader laughed. "You're just a merchant. What can you do?" Petter reached into his satchel and pulled out a small device, a prototype from his workshop. It was based on the same principles as his web shooters, but enhanced with magical crystals and advanced engineering. "Let me show you." The device erupted, firing a net of energy that wrapped around the bandit leader, pinning him to the ground. Before his men could react, Petter was in motion, his movements a blur of controlled violence, his enhanced strength and speed making short work of the unprepared bandits. Eleanor's trunk wrapped around the princess, pulling her close. He's incredible. His body moves like water," Ilsa admitted, her voice filled with grudging respect. "Like he was born to fight." Within minutes, the bandits were subdued. Petter stood among them, breathing heavily but unharmed. "Let's go," he said. "Before more of them show up." Aftermath. The return to the Elephantkin village was a triumphant procession. Princess Anemone was safely returned to her kingdom, and the bandits were handed over to the authorities. The kingdom's gratitude was generous: gold, trade agreements, and a formal alliance with the Elephantkin village. But for Petter, the real victory was something simpler. "We saved someone," he said to Eleanor that night, as they sat under the twin moons. "We made a difference." Eleanor's trunk wrapped around his shoulder. "You made a difference, Petter. You were the one who planned the rescue. You were the one who built Alpha. You were the one who fought the bandits. Couldn't have done it without you. Or Ilsa. Or Kenichi. We're a team now." Eleanor smiled, her amber eyes warm with affection. "That we are." As they watched the stars, Petter realized something important. He hadn't quit being Spider-Man because he no longer wanted to help people. He had quit because the people he helped had treated him like garbage. Here, in this new world, he could help people who appreciated it. He could be a hero without wearing a mask. And that was a gift he would never take for granted. Chapter 5, The Birth of Mirage Industries. The months following the princess rescue had been a whirlwind of activity. Petter Vaughn had thrown himself into his work with a dedication that surprised even himself, building, crafting, negotiating, and creating. The success of the rescue mission had opened doors that had previously been closed, and he intended to walk through every single one. Expanding horizons. The Elephantkin village had become a hub of activity. Traders from distant lands arrived regularly, drawn by rumors of the human merchant who treated beast folk as equals. The village's reputation had grown, and with it, its prosperity. Petter sat in his workshop, surrounded by blueprints and prototypes. His system screen floated before him, displaying his progress. Name: Petter Vaughn. Level: 62. Class: Merchant, Craftsman, Innovator. Title: The Fair Trader. Stats: Strength: 52. Agility: 45. Intelligence: 70. Endurance: 48. Charisma: 55. Luck: 50. Skills. Negotiation, level 18. Appraisal, level 20. Crafting, level 25. Cooking, level 12. Trading, level 22. Carpentry, level 16. Alchemy, level 14. Enchanting, level 12. Business management, level 20. Engineering, level 30. Nature manipulation, level 15. Robotic creation, level 25. Nanotech creation, level 18. Currency, 250,000 gold. He had come a long way from the broken man who had thrown his Spider-Man suit into a dumpster. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Kenichi entered, his face flushed with excitement. Petter, you won't believe who's here. Who? The Queen of Sylvian Kingdom. She wants to meet with you personally. Petter blinked. The Queen? Why? Something about trade agreements and, well, you'll find out. She's waiting in the main hall with Tusker. The Queen's offer. Queen Primula Drazine was a striking woman, regal, composed, and clearly not someone to be trifled with. Her golden hair was woven with intricate braids, and her gown was a masterpiece of silken artistry. But it was her eyes that caught Petter's attention, sharp, assessing, and filled with intelligence. Petter Vaughn, she said, her voice a smooth contralto. I have heard much about you. The merchant who treats beast folk as equals. The craftsman who builds machines of wonder. The man who rescued my daughter from bandits. Petter bowed respectfully. Your Majesty, I was simply doing what was right. Princess Anemone deserved to be safe. Indeed she did. The Queen's lips curved into a faint smile. And you delivered. For that, I am grateful. But I did not come here solely to express gratitude. I came to offer you a proposition. A proposition. You have skills that this kingdom needs. Technology, trade connections, business acumen. The kingdom is prosperous, but it could be more. With your help, it could become a beacon of progress in this world. Petter was silent for a moment. What exactly are you offering, Your Majesty? A partnership. The kingdom will provide resources, land, and legal protection. You will provide your vision, your skills, and your network. Together, we will build something that will change this world. Petter's mind raced. This was more than he had ever expected. More than he had ever dreamed. Your Majesty, I would be honored to accept. But I have conditions. Name them. First, equality. All races, human, beastkin, elf, dwarf, will be treated equally in any venture we undertake. No prejudice, no discrimination. Agreed. Second, autonomy. I will not be a puppet of the crown. The projects I undertake will be mine to direct, within reason. Agreed. Third, Petter paused. I want to build something new. Something that represents hope, not just for humans, but for everyone. The Queen's smile widened. I would expect nothing less from the man who rescued my daughter. Mirage Industries. The corporation was named Mirage Industries, a name that represented both illusion and possibility. Petter had chosen it deliberately. In his old life, he had been haunted by the legacy of Stark Industries, a company built on ego and warfare. He wanted something different, something better. Mirage, he explained to his gathered team, Eleanor, Kenichi, Ilsa, Tusker, and a handful of trusted advisors. A mirage is an illusion, but it's also a promise. It's something you see in the distance, something that pulls you forward. That's what I want this company to be, a promise of a better future. Eleanor's trunk curled around his arm. You've always dreamed of building something like this, haven't you? Not always, Petter admitted. But now I have the chance. And I'm not going to waste it. The company's headquarters was constructed in the Elephantkin village, a sprawling complex of stone and wood that combined traditional architecture with Petter's innovative designs. Solar panels lined the roofs. Water wheels turned in the nearby river. Automated defenses, courtesy of Alpha's successors, guarded the perimeter. Petter's system screen reflected his achievement. New faction established, Mirage Industries. Leader, Petter Vaughn. Headquarters, Elephantkin Village, Sylvian Kingdom. Primary focus, trade, crafting, technology, equality. Reputation, promising. The first projects. Petter's first major project was construction focused. He designed and built a series of construction automata, chrome-plated, excavator-type machines capable of clearing land, moving materials, and building structures with speed and precision. These will revolutionize construction, Kenichi marveled as he watched the first excavator clear a field in minutes, work that would have taken a team of laborers days. They're just the beginning, Petter said. Next, we'll build automated harvesters, milling machines, and maybe even something for transportation. The queen was so impressed with the construction automata that she commissioned a fleet of them for the kingdom's infrastructure projects. Roads were paved, bridges built, and new settlements established in record time. But Petter wasn't content with just construction. He turned his attention to agriculture, developing automated irrigation systems that conserved water while maximizing crop yields. He designed solar-powered greenhouses that could grow food year-round, regardless of the season. Food security is the foundation of civilization, he explained to a gathering of farmers. If people don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, they can focus on building a better future. Quantum energy. The most ambitious project was energy. Petter had been experimenting with magical energy sources for months, combining his scientific knowledge with the unique properties of this world. The result was something truly revolutionary. A quantum energy generator that stabilized magical energy into a consistent, clean power source. This is incredible, Eleanor said, watching the generator hum with gentle power. You've created something that could power entire cities. It's not perfect yet, Petter admitted. But with more research and development, I think we can achieve something truly remarkable. Clean energy for everyone, regardless of their means. The quantum generator was installed in the Elephantkin village, providing power for lighting, heating, and the growing number of automated systems. It was a proof of concept, a demonstration of what was possible. And it attracted attention. Merchants, nobles, and even foreign dignitaries visited the village to see the miracle for themselves. Illusion Metropolis. With the kingdom's support and Mirage Industries' resources, Petter embarked on his most ambitious project yet, Illusion Metropolis. The city was built on a vast expanse of land that the queen had granted him, a gift for his contributions to the kingdom. It was designed from the ground up, a testament to Petter's vision of a better world. The city's architecture was a blend of fantasy and science fiction, with graceful towers and sweeping bridges that seemed to defy gravity. Solar panels covered every rooftop, their surfaces gleaming in the sunlight. Quantum energy generators hummed beneath the streets, providing clean, abundant power to every building. But the city's most important feature was its people. Illusion Metropolis was open to everyone, regardless of race or species. Humans walked alongside beast folk, elves, dwarves, and other races. They lived, worked, and built their dreams together, a microcosm of the world Petter wanted to create. This is incredible, Kenichi breathed, standing on the observation deck of the city's central tower. You built all of this from nothing. I had help, Petter said. A lot of help. Eleanor, Ilsa, Tusker, you, everyone contributed. This city isn't my creation. It's ours. Eleanor's trunk wrapped around his shoulder. You're too modest, Petter. I'm honest. There's a difference. A normal life. Despite his growing responsibilities, Petter made time for the simple pleasures. He walked through the city's markets, talking to merchants and customers. He shared meals with his friends, laughing at Kenichi's stories about his former salaryman life. He spent quiet evenings with Eleanor, watching the twin moons rise over the city he had built. One evening, as they sat on a balcony overlooking Illusion Metropolis, Eleanor asked him a question that had been on her mind for a while. Are you happy, Petter? Petter considered the question carefully. In his old life, happiness had always been a fleeting thing, a brief respite between crises. Here, in this new world, it felt different. It felt permanent. I am, he said finally. I never thought I could be happy. Not after everything that happened. But here, with all of you, I've found something I never expected to find. Eleanor's amber eyes were soft in the moonlight. And what is that? Peace. Purpose. A reason to wake up in the morning that doesn't involve fighting. Eleanor's trunk curled around his hand. You deserve this, Petter. You deserve to be happy. So do you. So does everyone. He squeezed her hand, his heart swelling with gratitude. This city, this company, this life, it's all about giving people a chance to be happy. That's what I wanted to build from the beginning. And now. Now you have it. Petter nodded slowly, a smile spreading across his face. Now I have it. The symbol of evolution. As the months passed, Illusion Metropolis grew into a symbol of hope for the entire world. Refugees from war-torn regions found shelter within its walls. Entrepreneurs from across the continent established businesses in its markets. Scholars and inventors flocked to its universities, drawn by the promise of knowledge and progress. Mirage Industries expanded, its reach extending to neighboring kingdoms and beyond. Peter's automata were used in construction, agriculture, and disaster relief. His energy technologies brought power to remote villages. His trade network connected distant lands, fostering understanding and cooperation. The system screen reflected his achievement. Name: Peter von. Level: 85. Class: Merchant, Innovator, Protector. Title: The Founder of Illusion. Reputation: Legendary. Faction: Mirage Industries. Status: Thriving. Legacy: Building a better world. But for Peter, the numbers didn't matter. What mattered was the faces of the people he had helped, the families who had found shelter, the workers who had found jobs, the children who had found hope. He had been given a second chance. And he had used it to build something that would outlast him, a legacy of hope, progress, and equality. As the sun set over Illusion Metropolis, casting the city in shades of gold and crimson, Peter von stood on the observation deck of the central tower, surrounded by his friends and loved ones. The city hummed with life below them, a testament to what was possible when people worked together. "Thank you," he said quietly, speaking to no one in particular. "Thank you for giving me this chance." Eleanor's trunk wrapped around his shoulder, warm and comforting. "You earned it, Peter. Every bit of it." Kenichi clapped him on the back. "You built this, old friend. You and your crazy ideas." Ilsa nodded, her expression carrying a rare hint of respect. "You proved that even a human can be worth something." Peter laughed, a full, genuine laugh that came from somewhere deep inside. "I think that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me, Ilsa. Don't get used to it." As the stars emerged from the deepening sky, Peter von knew that his new life was exactly what he had always wanted. Not a life of fighting and suffering. Not a life of sacrifice and ingratitude. A life of peace, purpose, and people who cared about him. He was no longer Spider-Man. He was no longer Peter Parker. He was Peter von. And he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Chapter 6. Love and Hope. Months had passed since the founding of Illusion Metropolis. The city had grown beyond even Peter's wildest expectations, becoming a beacon of hope for people of all races and backgrounds. Humans, beast folk, elves, dwarves, they all came to the city seeking a better life, and they all found it. Peter von stood at the window of his penthouse suite, looking out at the city he had built. The view was breathtaking: towers of glass and stone, bridges that arched gracefully over artificial waterways, gardens that bloomed with flowers from a dozen different worlds. The twin moons hung in the sky, casting silver light over the metropolis. "I built this," he murmured to himself. "I actually built this." It still felt surreal. In his old life, he had been a tenant in a run-down apartment, struggling to pay rent, always on the run from the next crisis. Here, he was a leader, an innovator, a symbol of hope. But more importantly, he was happy. A leader's duty. Earlier that day, Peter had made an announcement that had surprised everyone. Effective immediately, all employees of Mirage Industries are to receive a paid vacation, he had declared to the gathered workers. 1 week, full pay, with the option to extend if necessary. Go home. Spend time with your families. Rest and recharge. The announcement had been met with stunned silence, then cheers. Workers of all races, humans, beast folk, elves, dwarves, had embraced each other, their faces alight with joy. "You're too generous," Kenichi had said, shaking his head. "This is going to cost a fortune." "Some things are worth the cost," Peter had replied. "These people work hard. They deserve to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Besides, a happy worker is a productive worker." Eleanor had watched him with warm, amber eyes. "You truly care about them, don't you?" "Of course I do. They're my family now." The workers had dispersed, heading home to their families. The streets of Illusion Metropolis had filled with laughter and joy as people reunited with loved ones, their burdens temporarily lifted. And now, as the sun set over the city, Peter found himself alone in his penthouse suite, a luxurious space of glass and marble, designed to be both elegant and comfortable. Eleanor's arrival. The door to the penthouse opened silently. Peter turned, expecting Kenichi or one of the other advisors. Instead, he saw Eleanor. She was beautiful, there was no other word for it. Her dark skin gleamed in the soft light, her blue hair cascading over her shoulders like a waterfall. Her amber eyes were warm with affection, and her trunk curled gently, a sign of her contentment. But it was her body that drew Petter's attention. Eleanor was voluptuous, her curves generous and inviting. She wore a simple dress that clung to her form, accentuating every line and contour. "Eleanor," Petter said, his voice catching slightly. "Is something wrong?" "Nothing is wrong," she said softly, approaching him. "I just wanted to see you alone." Petter's heart beat faster. "I see. Do you?" She was close now, her body pressing against his, her massive breasts pressed against his chest. Her trunk wrapped around his waist, pulling him closer. "I've been waiting for this moment for a long time, Petter." "Eleanor, She kissed him. It was a deep, passionate kiss, full of longing and desire. Petter's protests died in his throat as he responded, his arms wrapping around her, pulling her closer. They stood there for what felt like hours, locked in a passionate embrace. When they finally broke apart, Eleanor's eyes were filled with tears. "I love you, Petter. I know you've been hurt before. I know you've lost people. But I want you to know that I will never leave you. I will never betray you." Petter felt his own eyes sting. "Eleanor, I don't know what to say." "Say you love me," she whispered. "Say you'll let me be part of your life. Not just as a friend, not just as a colleague, but as someone who will stand by your side forever." Petter looked into her eyes and saw the truth there. She meant every word. "I love you, Eleanor," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I've been afraid to admit it. Afraid of losing you like I lost everyone else. But I can't keep running from my feelings. I love you." Eleanor's smile was radiant. "Then let me show you what true love feels like. Intimate moments." She led him to the bedroom, her trunk wrapped around his hand, guiding him. The room was bathed in soft candlelight, the bed covered in silk sheets. It was a space designed for intimacy, for connection. "Are you sure about this?" Petter asked, his voice husky. "Once we do this, things will change. We can't go back." "I don't want to go back," Eleanor said firmly. "I want to go forward. With you." She kissed him again, and this time, there was no hesitation. Petter's hands found her curves, exploring her body with a reverence that surprised him. She was warm, soft, and incredibly responsive. Their clothes fell away, forgotten. They came together in a tangle of limbs and passion, their bodies moving in perfect sync. Eleanor's trunk wrapped around him, pulling him closer, her moans of pleasure filling the room. Hours passed. They made love over and over, each time more intense than the last. Petter felt something he hadn't felt in years, a connection so deep, so profound, that it seemed to transcend the physical. When they finally collapsed, exhausted and satisfied, Eleanor curled up against him, her head resting on his chest. "That was incredible," she murmured. "Yeah," Petter agreed, his voice hoarse. "It was." Eleanor's trunk gently caressed his face. "I meant what I said, Petter. I love you. And I will never leave you." "I know," he said softly. "And that means more to me than you could ever know." The next morning, Petter woke to the smell of cooking. He blinked, confused for a moment, then remembered the night before. A smile spread across his face as he stretched, his muscles pleasantly sore. He found Eleanor in the kitchen, wearing one of his shirts. It was too big for her, but she looked adorable in it. She was cooking something that smelled delicious, her trunk occasionally dipping into the pot to taste. "Morning," Petter said, approaching her. "You're cooking." "I wanted to surprise you," she said, turning to face him with a smile. "I hope you like brisket. I learned the recipe from one of the human traders." Petter's eyes widened. "Brisket? You made brisket? Is that a problem?" "No, it's perfect. I love brisket." They ate together at the dining table, the morning sun streaming through the windows. The brisket was perfect, tender, flavorful, and clearly made with love. "You're an amazing cook," Petter said, taking another bite. "I didn't know you could cook like this." "I learned," Eleanor said, her cheeks flushing. "I wanted to do something special for you. You've given me so much, Petter. A home, a purpose, a future. The least I can do is cook you a good meal." Petter reached across the table, taking her hand. "You've given me more than you know, Eleanor. You've given me hope. You've given me a reason to believe that love isn't just a source of pain." Eleanor's eyes glistened. "That's all I ever wanted. To be your reason to hope. A symbol of hope. Later that day, Petter decided to create something new, an animal sanctuary on the outskirts of the city. An animal sanctuary? Eleanor asked, puzzled. But why? We have beast folk in the city. Wouldn't they be offended? Petter shook his head. No, not beast folk. Actual animals. Creatures that have been abandoned or mistreated. A place where they can live in peace. Eleanor's expression softened. That's actually beautiful. I thought you meant something else. I would never do anything to disrespect beast folk, Petter said firmly. They're part of my family now. But animals deserve compassion too. They're innocent creatures who don't deserve to suffer. The sanctuary was built with the same care and attention as everything Petter created. Enclosures were spacious and comfortable, designed to mimic the animals' natural habitats. There were healing facilities for injured creatures, and a dedicated staff to care for them. The day the sanctuary opened, Petter gave a speech. Many of you know what it's like to be abandoned. To be unwanted. To be seen as less than you are, he said to the gathered crowd. This sanctuary is a reminder that every creature deserves compassion. Every life has value. And together, we can build a world where no one, human, beast folk, or animal, is left behind. The crowd cheered. Eleanor was at his side, her trunk wrapped around his arm, her eyes shining with pride. A new chapter. As the sun set over Illusion Metropolis, Petter and Eleanor stood on the balcony of their penthouse, looking out at the city they had built together. I never thought I could have this, Petter said softly. A normal life. A family. People who love me. You deserve it, Eleanor said. You've worked so hard, given so much. You deserve to be happy. Petter turned to her, his eyes full of emotion. In my old life, I was always fighting. Always running. Always trying to save people who didn't want to be saved. I was a pawn in someone else's game, manipulated and used by people who didn't care about me. He paused, taking a deep breath. But here, in this world, I'm free. I'm my own person. And I have you. Eleanor's trunk caressed his cheek. I will never manipulate you, Petter. I will never use you. I will never lie to you. You are my partner, my equal, my love. And I will spend the rest of my life proving that to you. Petter smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile. That's all I've ever wanted. Someone who sees me. Not Spider-Man. Not a hero. Just me. They kissed under the twin moons, their hearts full of hope for the future. Aftermath. The next day, Petter returned to work with renewed energy. He had scheduled meetings with trade partners, reviewed blueprints for new projects, and personally visited the animal sanctuary to check on the residents. But throughout the day, he found himself smiling. The memory of Eleanor's touch, her voice, her love, it was a warmth that never faded. You're different today, Kenichi observed. Happier. Did something happen? Petter's smile widened. Something wonderful happened. Kenichi raised an eyebrow. Care to elaborate? Let's just say I finally understand what it means to be loved without conditions. What it means to have someone who sees you, truly sees you, and still chooses to stay. Kenichi smiled knowingly. Eleanor, she's a good woman, Petter. You're lucky to have her. I know, Petter said softly. I know. The animal sanctuary. The animal sanctuary quickly became one of Illusion Metropolis's most beloved attractions. Families visited to see the creatures, children learned about compassion and kindness, and the animals thrived under the care of dedicated staff. Petter visited regularly, spending time with the animals, ensuring they were well cared for. He found a special connection with a young wolf dog that had been injured and abandoned. The creature had been wary of humans at first, but Petter's patience and kindness had won it over. You remind me of myself, Petter said, scratching behind the wolf dog's ears. Hurt, alone, afraid to trust. But I promise you, there are good people in this world. People who will treat you with kindness. The wolf dog licked his hand, and Petter laughed. Eleanor watched from a distance, a soft smile on her face. You truly are remarkable, she murmured. A city of hope. Illusion Metropolis continued to grow. New buildings rose, new businesses opened, new families arrived. The city's reputation as a place of freedom, hope, and equality spread far and wide. Petter stood on the observation deck of the central tower, looking out at the city he had created. Beside him stood Eleanor, her trunk wrapped around his arm. This is what I always wanted, he said softly. Not power. Not fame. Not wealth. Just a place where people can live in peace. You built it, Eleanor said. You gave them hope. We built it, Peter corrected. I couldn't have done it without all of you. Eleanor kissed his cheek. You're too modest, Peter. I'm honest. There's a difference. They stood together, watching the twin moons rise over Illusion Metropolis. The city hummed with life below them, a testament to what was possible when people worked together, regardless of race or species. As the stars emerged, Peter Vaughn knew that his new life was exactly what he had always wanted. He was no longer Spider-Man. He was no longer Peter Parker. He was Peter Vaughn. And he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Chapter 7. Back in Reckoning. Earth 616, the most toxic universe. The celebration had been deafening. When Spider-Man vanished, when the web slinger finally stopped swinging through the streets of New York, the people had rejoiced. They threw parties. They burned effigies. They declared that the menace was finally gone. They had no idea what they had just lost. The rise of crime. Crime rates in New York City had increased by 20% in the first week after Spider-Man's disappearance. The criminals, who had lived in fear of the web slinger's arrival, grew bolder. They tested the limits. They pushed the boundaries. By the second week, crime had risen by 50%. By the third week, it had doubled. By the end of the first month, crime was at 100%, and still climbing. Police officers were overwhelmed. The streets that had once been relatively safe became war zones. Muggings, robberies, assaults, and murders became daily occurrences. The city's infrastructure, already strained, began to crumble. Where are the heroes? Citizens demanded. Where are the Avengers? Where are the Fantastic Four? Where's anyone? But the heroes were busy. They had their own problems, their own agendas. They had never truly cared about the people of New York, not the way Spider-Man had. The Web Warriors. The Web Warriors, led by the young Miles Morales, had tried to fill the void. Miles was a good kid. He had potential. He had powers. He had the heart of a hero. But he was inexperienced, untrained, and unprepared for the reality of what it meant to protect a city. Don't worry, citizens, Miles called out as he swung through the streets, his costume bright and hopeful. Spider-Man is here. Well, a Spider-Man. We'll save you. But he couldn't. The villains he faced were hardened criminals, veterans of countless battles with the original Spider-Man. They had fought Peter Parker for years. They knew his tactics, his tricks, his weaknesses. Miles had none of that experience. The first major battle was a disaster. Miles and the Web Warriors faced a combined assault from the Sinister Six, the Enforcers, and a dozen other villainous groups. They were outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and outclassed. You think you're better than him just because you're in the Avengers, and he's not. The Rhino bellowed, his fist connecting with Miles's face. Let me tell you, that's bullshit if you think so. He could fight us for hours, even a whole day, at that. And he could fight all of us at the same time. The Web Warriors were beaten, broken, and humiliated. You're just a cheap, overrated copy of him with an inflated ego, the Vulture sneered. And you'll never be anything more than that. Julia Carpenter, Madam Web, had tried to help. She had attempted to make Miles a totem, believing him more worthy than Peter. But the Master Weaver had stopped her. Madam Web's ability is only to observe and help the dimensions, the Master Weaver had told her. You are not meant to choose replacements. And Miles Morales is not a replacement, he is his own person. You have overstepped, Julia. And in doing so, you have betrayed the one who was truly worthy. The search. A month later, the city and its heroes began to realize the significance of what they had lost. Where is he? Citizens demanded. Where's Spider-Man? Where's the only one who ever actually helped us? The Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, they all searched. They looked everywhere. But Peter Parker had vanished completely. No trace. No clues. No leads. His exes, Mary Jane, Gwen Stacy from another dimension, and others, wanted to apologize. They wanted to ask him to start over. They searched the city, but found nothing. They went to his friends, his allies, the people who had stood by him when everyone else had abandoned him. Deadpool was the first they approached. You want to find Peter? He asked, his mask somehow conveying contempt. You betrayed him. You all betrayed him. And now you want to apologize. Now you want to start over. Screw that. Screw you. Screw every single one of you. I hope you rot. Punisher was even less forgiving. You people are the reason this city is falling apart. You made him quit. You drove him away. And now you want him back. I'd rather die than help you. Moon Knight laughed in their faces. You think I'd help the people who destroyed my friend? Who drove him to the brink? Who watched as he was tortured and broken and did nothing? Get out of my sight. Doctor Strange was more measured, but no less firm. I have seen the future, and I have seen what happens when good people are pushed too far. You pushed him. You broke him. And now you will live with the consequences. Ghost Rider, Blade, Hope, and Kamala Khan all refused. They had seen the truth. They had stood by Peter when no one else would. They would not betray him now. You're not welcome here, Hope said coldly. Peter was my teacher. He was my friend. He was the only one who actually believed in me. And you destroyed him. Now get out. Kamala nodded, her eyes filled with tears. He was the best of us. And you threw him away like garbage. I hope you're happy. The revelation. The villains, emboldened by the hero's weakness, continued their assault. They attacked with impunity, their power growing with each victory. And then, in the middle of a battle, Otto Octavius appeared. He was no longer the deformed Dr. Octopus. He was the superior octopus, a form that combined his genius with enhanced physical capabilities. And he was here to reveal the truth. You idiots, he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. You actually believed I was Peter Parker. For 8 months, I controlled his body. I was the superior Spider-Man. And none of you noticed. The heroes were stunned. They had been deceived. They had believed that Peter had turned cruel, had become a villain. And they had done nothing to help him. How could we not see it? Steve Rogers whispered, his face pale. How could we not realize? Because you were too busy patting yourselves on the back, Octavius sneered. You thought you were better than him. You thought he was beneath you. And you were wrong. The villains began to humiliate the heroes, mocking their arrogance, their incompetence. You couldn't even tell the difference between a hero and a villain, the Green Goblin laughed. You're pathetic. All of you. The upgrades. The villains had received upgrades, improved technology stolen from Stark Industries, the Baxter Building, and PIM Technologies. The so-called heroes' security had been laughable, their egos so inflated that they had believed no one would dare touch their inventions. Tony Stark's weapons, Reed Richards' gadgets, Hank Pym's discoveries, all of it had been stolen and turned against them. Did you really think you were untouchable? The Vulture asked, his newly upgraded wings gleaming. Did you really think we wouldn't take advantage of your arrogance? The battles grew harder. The heroes suffered more severe injuries. They began to lose, more and more, their confidence shattered. Doom's revelation. Then Victor Von Doom appeared on every screen in New York. Citizens of New York, he said, his voice calm and commanding. I have come to reveal the truth. The truth about your so-called heroes. He began to expose the crimes committed by the heroes of Earth-616. Tony Stark was responsible for the Skrull invasion of Earth. He drugged Wanda Maximoff. He sabotaged Parker Industries. He worked with Hydra and anti-mutant organizations to develop weapons for them. He knew about Superior Spider-Man's true identity, and he remained silent to make Peter Parker look bad. Clint Barton lied about the Phoenix event. He showed Spider-Man fighting 2 powerful Phoenix-enchanted mutants, but he didn't mention that Spider-Man was trying to save them. He also committed other crimes. Scott Summers betrayed his own kind. He kidnapped mutant children against their will and murdered their parents. Doom revealed everything. The Illuminati's secret meetings. The lies. The betrayal. The corruption. By the time he finished, the people of New York were furious. They hated the heroes, more than they had ever hated Spider-Man. The fall of J. Jonah Jameson. J. Jonah Jameson had been the loudest voice against Spider-Man. He had called him a menace. He had called him a criminal. He had dedicated his life to destroying the web-slinger's reputation. Now, Jameson was paying the price. His house was vandalized. His belongings were stolen. He was beaten in the streets by thugs who had once feared Spider-Man's arrival. The Daily Bugle, his life's work, was boycotted. His reputation was destroyed. Karma, one citizen spat at him. You destroyed the only hero we had. Now you get to live with the consequences. Jameson had no money, no home, no job. He had lost everything. The Avenger Mansion. In the Avenger Mansion, the so-called Earth's mightiest heroes licked their wounds. They were battered, broken, and humiliated. How can we lose to those guys? Tony Stark asked, his voice filled with disbelief. Reed Richards shook his head. We underestimated them. We were arrogant. Where's that bug? Hawkeye sneered. He should have cleaned up his mess. I bet he ran away like a chicken. Typical, Hank Pym muttered. He was always unreliable. Wonder Man, Rhodey, Bucky, and Namor agreed. We don't need that insect, they declared. We never did. The response was immediate. Carol Danvers punched Tony Stark in the face. Susan Richards hit Reed with a force field. Jessica Drew slapped Hawkeye across the room. Wanda Maximoff, She-Hulk, Mockingbird, Natasha Romanoff, and the Wasp all attacked the men who had just insulted the one hero who had actually mattered. Shut up, Carol shouted, her voice shaking. I regret ever going out with you. We're done. Jessica Drew was crying. It's you who ran away. You're not him. And because of you, I lost the real father of my child. You fucking asshole. Susan's face was pale. I regret everything I said to him. Everything. She-Hulk's eyes burned with fury. I should have sent you to jail for what you did. Natasha's voice was cold. I should have just killed you. Mockingbird's fists were clenched. I regret everything. Everything I said to him. It's your fault. Wasp's voice was a snarl. I should have divorced you and killed you. Thor, who had been on a cosmic mission and had missed the Superior Spider-Man events, looked around in confusion. Where is he? Where is the spider? Wanda's eyes were sad. Do you think he's dead? Julia Carpenter, still recovering from her own injuries, shook her head. It's impossible. If he dies, the universe is destroyed. Doctor Strange nodded. She's right. Without him, we will all die. The Avengers stared at each other, horrified. Spider-Man was important. He was the linchpin, the one who held everything together. And they had driven him away. The attempt. Miles, Captain America said, his voice strained. Can you locate him? Miles looked down, his face filled with shame. I don't know. Because that asshole, he pointed at Tony Stark, cut off my connection to Peter. And now I regret it. Gwen Stacy glared at him. You should be. Kamala Khan shook her head. I'm glad I didn't go out with you. Anya was even harsher. I hope the Web Weaver sends you back with no memory of being Spider-Man. Because you don't deserve it. And Julia doesn't deserve to be Madam Web. Kane nodded. I prefer Cassandra or anyone else to become Madam Web. Jessica Drew turned on Julia. And you knew about Superior. You knew about Otto. But you shut up about it. You didn't warn us. We could have helped him. But you just ignored it. Julia had no response. She had failed. They had all failed. The Illuminati. In the shadows, the Illuminati, Tony Stark, Hank Pym, now Ant-Man, Reed Richards, Namor, and Professor Charles Xavier, were working on a secret device. We need to fix this, Tony said, his voice desperate. We need to find him. We need to bring him back. We need to build a device that can locate him, Reed agreed. Across dimensions, across realities. He's out there somewhere. The device was complex, incorporating technology from all of them. It was a beacon, designed to locate Peter Parker's unique energy signature. But they had no idea what they were building. The device was not a beacon, it was a trap. It was designed to capture, not locate. It was designed to control, not help. The Illuminati's arrogance had doomed them once again. The shadows. Behind the scenes, three figures watched. They were entities of immense power, beings who had seen the corruption of Earth 616 and decided that something needed to change. The universe is dying, one said. The heroes are corrupted. The villains are winning. And the one person who could save them all, is gone. Then we must find him, another said. We must bring him back. Or we must create a new universe for him. One where he can live in peace. The third nodded. We have the power. We have the will. We will not let this universe destroy him again. And so, the plan was set in motion. The search for Peter Parker, now Peter Vaughn, had begun. Chapter 8. Alliance Across Worlds. The dimensional gate hummed with power, its surface rippling like liquid silver. Peter Vaughn stood before it, his system screen displaying the coordinates he had calculated over weeks of research. Dimensional gate. Active. Destination. World of Warcraft, Azeroth. Estimated travel time, instantaneous. Status. Ready. Are you sure about this? Eleanor asked, her trunk wrapped around his arm. We don't know what's on the other side. That's the point, Petter said with a smile. Exploration. Discovery. New opportunities. And besides. He paused, his expression growing serious. I have a feeling that something big is coming. Something that will require allies. And I'd rather have them now than wish I had them later. Eleanor's amber eyes softened. You always think ahead, don't you? Old habits. He squeezed her hand. Ready, ready. They stepped through the gate together, the world dissolving around them into a swirl of colors and sounds. For a moment, Petter felt like he was falling, then the sensation stopped, and he was standing on solid ground. Arrival in Stormwind. The city before them was breathtaking. Stormwind was a bastion of human civilization, its walls towering and majestic, its spires reaching toward the sky. The architecture was a blend of practicality and artistry, each building a testament to the skill of its builders. The streets were crowded with people, humans, dwarves, elves, and other races that Petter had never seen before. By the gods, Eleanor breathed. It's beautiful. Petter nodded, his eyes scanning the city with a mixture of wonder and calculation. This was a world of magic and conflict, of heroes and villains. And it was exactly the kind of place where he could make a difference. A group of guards approached, their armor gleaming, their weapons ready. Halt. State your business in Stormwind. Petter raised his hands, palms open. We come in peace. My name is Petter Vaughn, and this is Eleanor. We're travelers from another world, here to offer our assistance. The guards exchanged glances. Another world. You expect us to believe that? Petter's system screen flickered, projecting a holographic image of the dimensional gate. I can prove it. Show me to your leader, and I'll explain everything. Meeting King Anduin. King Anduin Rin was younger than Petter had expected, a man in his 20s, with the weight of leadership on his shoulders. His eyes were kind but weary, and his voice carried the authority of someone who had seen too much war. Petter Vaughn, Anduin said, studying the newcomer. You claim to be from another world. You claim to have technology and resources that could help my people. Why should I believe you? Petter met the king's gaze without flinching. Because I've been where you are. I've been betrayed by people I trusted. I've fought wars I didn't believe in. And I've lost people I loved. I'm not here to conquer or exploit. I'm here to help. Anduin was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Tell me your story. Petter told him everything. The spider bite. Uncle Ben. The weight of responsibility. The Civil War. MJ's death. Aunt May's rejection. Otto Octavius stealing his body. The superior Spider-Man. The betrayal of the heroes he had trusted. I gave everything to protect a world that hated me, Petter said, his voice heavy with old pain. And when I needed them most, they abandoned me. I was given a second chance, a new life in a new world. And I've used it to build something better. Something that helps people without asking for anything in return. Anduin listened, his expression unreadable. When Petter finished, the king spoke. I understand betrayal, Anduin said quietly. I understand what it's like to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. My father, he was a great man, but he was also a warrior. He believed in strength above all else. I've tried to be different. I've tried to build bridges instead of walls. But sometimes it feels like the world doesn't want peace. It does, Petter said. The people want peace. It's the leaders, the politicians, the warmongers who want war. And they'll keep fighting until someone shows them a better way. Anduin smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. You remind me of someone. Someone I lost. And I think I would like to make an alliance with you, Petter Vaughn. The alliance. The agreement was simple but comprehensive. Petter would provide resources, solar energy technology, automated construction equipment, advanced medical supplies, in exchange for a formal alliance with the Kingdom of Stormwind. We need better defenses, Anduin explained. The Horde is a constant threat. And beyond them, the Lich King. The Burning Legion. There are always enemies on the horizon. I can help with that, Petter said. I can provide automated defenses, energy sources, and construction equipment that will make your cities stronger and more resilient. And I can train your engineers in my technology. Anduin nodded slowly. You're offering a lot. What do you want in return? Peace, Petter said simply. I want to see a world where people can live without fear. Where children can grow up without knowing war. That's all I've ever wanted. The Horde. The journey to the Horde's territory was tense. Eleanor stayed close to Petter, her trunk wrapped around his arm, her eyes scanning for threats. This is dangerous, she murmured. The Horde has a reputation. I know, Petter said. But I also know that peace is possible. We just have to find the right people to talk to. They were intercepted by Horde scouts before they reached the main encampment. The orcs were massive, their green skin covered in scars, their tusks gleaming. They surrounded Petter and Eleanor, weapons drawn. Human, one of the orcs growled. You are not welcome here. Petter raised his hands slowly. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to talk. I'm here to offer an alliance. The orcs laughed, a harsh, grating sound. An alliance. With a human. With someone who understands what it's like to be betrayed by people you trusted, Petter said. With someone who wants peace. With someone who can offer you resources that will make your lives better. The laughter stopped. The lead orc studied him with narrowed eyes. You speak boldly for someone who could be killed with a single blow. I've been killed before, Petter said dryly. It didn't take. Meeting the warchief. The warchief of the Horde was a towering figure, his presence commanding respect and fear. He studied Petter with suspicion, his hand resting on his weapon. A human who wants peace, the warchief said. And who claims to be from another world. Explain yourself. Petter told his story again, the betrayal, the pain, the second chance. He spoke of his technology, his resources, his desire to help. The Alliance and the Horde have been fighting for generations, he said. But why? Because your ancestors fought. Because someone told you to. Because you don't understand each other. The warchief's eyes narrowed. You speak as if you know war. I've been in more wars than I can count, Petter said. And I've lost people in all of them. But I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of fighting. I want to build something that will last. The warchief was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. You are either the bravest human I have ever met, he said slowly, or the most foolish. But I sense no deception in your words. I sense sincerity. All I'm offering is a choice, Petter said. A choice to build something better. Resources. Technology. A future. The warchief extended his hand. Then we have an alliance. The Lich King. The final piece of the puzzle was the Lich King. Petter had heard the stories, a being of immense power, commanding an army of the undead. A threat to both the Alliance and the Horde. A creature that had to be stopped. I'll face him, Petter said. Alone. Absolutely not, Eleanor said, her voice firm. You're not doing this alone. I have to. If I bring others, they'll be used against me. The Lich King will turn them into his puppets. But me, I'm not from this world. His magic won't work on me the same way. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. Petter, I'll come back, he promised. I always do. The battle. The Lich King's domain was a frozen wasteland, a place of death and despair. Petter walked through it with purpose, his system screen displaying the threats ahead. Location. Icecrown Citadel. Threat level, extreme. Target. The Lich King. Status. Engaged. The Lich King appeared before him, a towering figure of armor and frost. His eyes burned with cold fire, and his voice echoed with the power of 1,000 souls. You are not from this world, the Lich King said. I can sense it. You are different. I am, Petter agreed. And I'm here to end you. End me. Foolish mortal. I am death itself. I cannot be ended. Petter smiled. I've heard that before. The battle was brutal. The Lich King's power was immense, his frost magic capable of freezing entire armies. But Petter was not an army. He was something else, a being of incredible resilience, enhanced strength, and a determination that came from a lifetime of fighting against impossible odds. His system screen flickered with notifications. Skill activated, elemental magic, fire. Skill activated, nanotech creation, armor. Skill activated, summoning, automaton alpha. Skill activated, nature manipulation, earth. The Lich King was thrown back, his armor cracked, his power waning. How is this possible? Because I'm not just a mortal, Petter said. I'm someone who's been given a second chance. And I'm not going to waste it. The final blow was delivered with the combined power of his fire magic and his nanotech-enhanced gauntlet. The Lich King's form disintegrated, his soul finally at rest. Objective complete. Lich King defeated. Reward. Legendary title, The Liberator. Reputation: Alliance plus 1000, Horde plus 1000, Neutral Factions plus 500. Aftermath: the news spread quickly. The Lich King was dead. The hero who had defeated him was Peter Von, a traveler from another world. The Alliance and the Horde had formed an alliance, not just with each other, but with him. "I never thought I'd see the day," Anduin said, shaking his head. "A human and an orc working together, both for the same cause." Peter smiled. "It's possible. It's always been possible. People just need to be shown a better way." Eleanor's trunk wrapped around him. "You're a miracle worker, Peter. I'm just a man who refuses to give up." Chapter 9, Unwanted Reunions. The merge happened without warning. One moment, the worlds were separate, EARTH 616, Azeroth, and the fantasy realm where Peter Von had built his new life. The next moment, they were one. Reality twisted and folded, continents shifting, skies changing, magic and technology colliding in a cataclysmic fusion that reshaped existence itself. Buildings of steel and glass rose alongside castles of stone and magic. Highways crossed paths with ancient forests. The streets of New York City now led into the districts of Stormwind. Orcs walked past bewildered humans. Elves stood beside bewildered mutants. Beastmen of all kinds wandered through cities that had never known their kind. The citizens of Earth 616 were confused, terrified, and amazed all at once. Chaos in the streets. "By the gods, what is happening?" A woman screamed, staring at a massive orc who was equally confused. The orc grunted. "I ask the same question, little human. Where are we? This is New York. Where else would it be? New York. I've never heard of such a place." The confusion was everywhere. Villains, who had been in the middle of criminal activities, found themselves facing entirely new threats. Hydra agents, AIM soldiers, and common thugs were suddenly confronted by paladins, mages, and warriors who had no idea what was happening but knew exactly how to defend themselves. "What the hell is that?" a Hydra agent shouted, pointing at a dwarf who was swinging a massive axe. "Die, villain!" the dwarf bellowed, charging forward. The battle that followed was chaotic. The villains of Earth 616 had never faced magic before. The heroes of Azeroth had never faced advanced technology. But in the chaos, something remarkable happened. The defenders of Azeroth began protecting the citizens of Earth-616. "You're not a warrior," a paladin said, pushing a civilian behind him. "Stay back. I'll handle this. We don't know who you people are. Does it matter? You're in danger. We protect the innocent. That is our duty." The villains were overwhelmed. The sheer number of defenders, orcs, dwarves, elves, paladins, mages, warriors, was too much. Even the most hardened criminals found themselves beaten back. The heroes arrived. The so-called heroes of Earth 616 arrived late to the chaos, as usual. The Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, and the Web Warriors all converged on the scene, their faces filled with confusion. "What the hell is going on?" Tony Stark shouted, his Iron Man armor glowing. "Where did all these creatures come from?" "Creatures?" An orc warrior growled. "We are not creatures, Tin Man. We are the Horde, and you would do well to show respect." Reed Richards was already analyzing the situation. The dimensional barriers have collapsed. Multiple realities are merging. This shouldn't be possible. "Tell that to them," Spider-Woman shouted, dodging a spell from a mage who was trying to help. "Wait, they're fighting the villains." Indeed, the defenders of Azeroth were not attacking the heroes. They were attacking the criminals, the ones who were hurting civilians. It was a strange sight, orcs and paladins fighting alongside each other, protecting people they had never met. The return. And then they saw him. Peter Von stood in the middle of the chaos, his advanced armor gleaming, his nanotech weapons humming with power. Beside him stood Eleanor, her trunk wrapped around a massive hammer, her amber eyes filled with determination. Behind them were dozens of warriors from Azeroth, orcs, dwarves, elves, and beastmen who had pledged their allegiance to the man who had defeated the Lich King. "Peter," Eleanor said quietly. "There are people who seem to know you." Peter followed her gaze. His expression hardened. The heroes of Earth 616 were staring at him with a mixture of shock and recognition. Mary Jane, Gwen Stacy, Silk, Spider-Gwen, his exes were all there, their faces pale with disbelief. "Peter," Mary Jane whispered. Peter, is that you? Peter walked past her without a word. Peter, wait. Gwen called out. We need to talk. We need to. I'm not Peter, he said, his voice cold. Peter Parker died a long time ago. I'm Peter Vaughn now, and I have no interest in anything you have to say. The heroes were stunned. The man they had betrayed, the man they had driven away, was standing before them, and he wanted nothing to do with them. The villains strike. The villains of Earth 616 saw an opportunity. With the heroes distracted, they could strike. Otto Octavius and Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, led the charge, their forces overwhelming the defenders. Spider-Man. Octavius snarled, his mechanical tentacles writhing. I knew you'd return, and now you'll face the superior. He never finished the sentence. Peter moved faster than anyone could see. His nanotech gauntlets glowed with power as he grabbed Octavius's tentacles and ripped them off, one by one. The mechanical limbs clattered to the ground, sparking and twitching. Superior, Peter said, his voice cold. You stole my body. You stole my life. You turned my legacy into a joke. And you have the audacity to call yourself superior. He grabbed Octavius by the throat and slammed him into the ground, once, twice, 3 times. The villain's face was a bloody mess by the time Peter released him. Octavius lay on the ground, groaning, his body broken. Norman Osborn didn't fare any better. The spider returns, the Green Goblin cackled, his glider swooping down. You never could stay away, could you? You always come back too. Peter grabbed Norman's arm and twisted. The bone snapped with a sickening crunch. Norman screamed. You took everything from me, Peter said, his voice flat. You killed Gwen. You tortured Harry. You made my life a living hell. And now you want to mock me. He grabbed Norman's other arm and broke that one too. Then he grabbed his spine and twisted until he heard the crack. Norman Osborn collapsed, paralyzed, his eyes wide with terror. I should kill you, Peter said. But death would be too easy. I want you to live. I want you to remember this moment. I want you to know that I could have ended you at any time, but I chose not to. Because that's the kind of man I am. He turned away, leaving the villains broken and bleeding on the ground. The X's, desperation. Mary Jane Watson pushed through the crowd, her eyes filled with tears. Peter, please. I need to talk to you. Peter stopped. He didn't turn around. What is there to talk about, Mary Jane? You betrayed me. You believed I was a monster. You didn't even try to help me. I didn't know. I didn't realize it was auto-controlling your body. Please, Peter, You didn't know, Peter repeated, his voice bitter. You didn't realize. Those are excuses, Mary Jane. Excuses for why you abandoned me when I needed you most. Gwen Stacy stepped forward. What about me, Peter? I tried to help. You tried to help, Peter interrupted. And then you left. Just like everyone else. You all left. And you know what? That's fine. Because I found people who actually care about me. People who don't abandon me the moment things get difficult. Eleanor stepped forward, her trunk wrapping protectively around Peter's arm. These are the people who betrayed you. She asked, her voice filled with contempt. They are. Then they are not worthy of your time. Peter nodded. Let's go. He walked away, leaving his exes behind. Mary Jane and Gwen collapsed, sobbing into their hands. They had lost him. They had lost him forever. The Illuminati's arrogance. As Peter walked away, the Illuminati, Tony Stark, Reed Richards, Hank Pym, Namor, and Professor X, approached him. Peter, Tony said, his voice filled with false concern. We need to talk. This merge, this dimensional collapse, we need to understand what's happening. We need your help. Peter stopped. He turned slowly, his eyes cold. You need my help. After everything you did. After you ignored me. After you watched as Otto stole my body and did nothing. We didn't know, Reed said. You didn't know. Peter laughed, a bitter sound. You're the smartest man in the world. You didn't notice that I was acting differently. You didn't notice that I wasn't joking, that I was being cruel, that I was using completely different tactics. You're a genius, Reed. You should have known. Reed had no response. And you, Peter said, turning to Tony. You knew. You knew about Superior. You knew it wasn't me. And you said nothing. Because you wanted to make me look bad. Because your ego couldn't handle the idea that someone else might be better than you. Tony's face went pale. Peter, that's not. Don't lie to me, Petter snapped. I'm done with lies. I'm done with all of you. You're not heroes. You're arrogant, selfish, entitled children playing at being heroes while the real heroes suffer. He turned to Professor X. And you could have read my mind. You could have known the truth. But you didn't. Because you didn't care. None of you cared. The Avengers, plea. Captain America stepped forward, his face filled with regret. Peter, son, I know we failed you. I know we let you down. But we need you now. The world needs you now. Please, help us. Petter looked at Steve Rogers, the man he had once admired, the man he had once considered a friend. And he felt nothing but disappointment. You're a good man, Steve, he said quietly. You always have been. But you're also naive. You believe in the best in people, even when they don't deserve it. And you know what? I used to be like that. I used to believe in people. I used to think that if I just tried hard enough, I could make a difference. He paused, his eyes hardening. But I was wrong. People don't want to be saved. They want to blame someone else for their problems. They want to tear down anyone who tries to help. And you know what? I'm done being that person. I'm done being the scapegoat. I'm done being the one who's blamed for everything that goes wrong. He turned away, Eleanor at his side. Goodbye, Steve. I hope you find what you're looking for. But I won't be part of it. The aftermath. The battle raged on, but Petter Vaughn was no longer part of it. He had done his part. He had helped the defenders of Azeroth protect the civilians. He had taken down the villains. He had shown the heroes of Earth 616 what true heroism looked like. And now he was done. Eleanor walked beside him, her trunk wrapped around his arm. You did the right thing, Petter. You helped those who needed it. And you walked away from those who didn't deserve you. I know, he said quietly. It still hurts, though. Seeing them again, remembering what they did. But you're not the same person, Petter. You've grown. You've changed. You've built a new life with people who love you. Don't let them drag you back to the past. Petter nodded slowly. You're right. I won't. Chapter 10, The World Meeting. The aftermath of New York City's restoration was a fragile piece. The merged world, a chaotic blend of EARTH 616, Azeroth, and Petter's fantasy realm, was slowly finding its footing. Buildings of steel and glass stood alongside castles of stone and magic. Highways crossed paths with ancient forests. The streets of New York now led into the districts of Stormwind. But peace required understanding, and understanding required communication. The world meeting was called to address the new reality. Representatives from every major faction, Earth 616's governments, Azeroth's kingdoms, and the fantasy realm's leaders, gathered in a grand hall that had been constructed specifically for this purpose. It was a place where worlds could come together and forge a new future. Or tear each other apart. The gathering. The hall was packed. Representatives from the United Nations sat alongside orc chieftains, dwarf kings, and elven ambassadors. The Avengers were present, their faces grim. The Fantastic Four stood in a corner, Reed Richards already analyzing the architecture. The X-Men were represented by Professor Charles Xavier, his expression unreadable. At the head of the room stood a massive table, its surface covered with maps and documents. Behind the table sat the leaders of the merged world, Queen Amaranthus of the Sylvian Kingdom, King Anduin Rin of Stormwind, and representatives from the Horde and other factions. Maria Hill, the former director of S.H.I.E.L.D., was the first to speak. Her voice was sharp, accusatory. These creatures, she said, gesturing at the orcs and beastmen. They are threats. They don't belong here. They should be contained, studied, and... One glare from Queen Amaranthus was enough to silence her permanently. Creatures. The Queen said, her voice cold. We are not creatures. We are people. And we have more right to be here than you, woman who led an organization built on lies and manipulation. Maria Hill's face went pale. She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. The weight of the Queen's stare was too much. King Anduin rose from his seat, his voice calm but firm. We are here to discuss the future of this merged world. Not to assign blame. Not to sow division. We are here to build something new. The truth about Spider-Man. Anduin turned to face the assembled representatives. Before we proceed, there is something that must be addressed. Something that has been hidden for far too long. He gestured, and a holographic display appeared. It showed images, videos, and documents, evidence of the crimes committed against Spider-Man. Peter Parker, Anduin said, was falsely accused of crimes he did not commit. He was betrayed by the very people who were supposed to protect him. He was used, manipulated, and discarded by a world that didn't deserve him. The room erupted into chaos. The Avengers protested. The Fantastic Four denied everything. The X-Men looked uncomfortable. Lies. Tony Stark shouted. All lies. We never. You never what? A voice cut through the chaos. All eyes turned to the entrance. Peter Von stood there, his presence commanding immediate attention. He was dressed in his advanced armor, his nanotech gauntlets gleaming. Beside him stood Eleanor, her trunk wrapped around a massive hammer, her amber eyes filled with righteous fury. You never abandoned me, Peter continued, walking toward the table. You never ignored me when I needed help. You never stood by while Otto Octavius stole my body and destroyed my life. Tony Stark opened his mouth, but no words came out. Let's talk about the sins of the so-called heroes, Peter said, his voice cold. Let's talk about the time you sent the Hulk into space, Tony. Let's talk about how you drugged Wanda Maximoff to keep her under control. Let's talk about how you worked with anti-mutant organizations to develop weapons for them. The room went silent. Let's talk about how you knew about Superior, Peter continued, his eyes burning with barely contained rage. You knew it wasn't me. You knew Otto Octavius was controlling my body. And you said nothing. Because it made me look bad. Because it made you look good. He turned to Reed Richards. And you, the smartest man in the world. You didn't notice the difference. You didn't notice that I wasn't joking anymore. That I was being cruel. That I was using completely different tactics. You're a genius, Reed. You should have known. Reed had no response. And you, Peter said, turning to Professor Xavier. You could have read my mind. You could have known the truth. But you didn't. Because you didn't care. The evidence. Peter raised his hand, and his system screen projected a massive holographic display. It showed documents, videos, and testimony, evidence of every crime the heroes had committed. Let's talk about the Illuminati, he said. Let's talk about how you manipulated governments. How you assassinated political leaders. How you decided who lived and who died based on your own arrogance. The display showed footage of the Illuminati's meetings, secret gatherings where they had decided the fate of the world without consulting anyone. Let's talk about how you abandoned the citizens of New York, Peter continued. How you left them to fend for themselves while you dealt with your bigger problems. How you watched as crime rates skyrocketed and did nothing. The display showed images of the chaos that had consumed New York after Spider-Man's disappearance. You called yourselves heroes, Peter said, his voice filled with contempt. But you were nothing more than arrogant, selfish, entitled children playing at being heroes while the real heroes suffered. The breaking point. Tony Stark couldn't contain himself any longer. This is ridiculous. You can't just. Can't I? Peter interrupted. Let's talk about your crimes, Tony. Let's talk about how you hired an assassin to kill Aunt May. The room went silent. That's a lie. Tony shouted. Is it? Peter's system screen projected a document, a contract between Tony Stark and a known assassin. I have the evidence. I have everything. And I'm done keeping your secrets. Tony's face went pale. He collapsed into his chair, defeated. Enough, King Anduin said, his voice ringing with authority. We have heard enough. The evidence is clear. The heroes of Earth 616 have committed crimes against their own people, against each other, and against the very fabric of their world. He turned to the assembled representatives. I propose that the Illuminati be held accountable for their actions. They should be tried for their crimes and sentenced accordingly. The representatives murmured their agreement. The judgment. The vote was unanimous. The Illuminati, Tony Stark, Reed Richards, Hank Pym, Namor, and Professor Charles Xavier, were found guilty of crimes against humanity and against the merged world. They were sentenced to prison. This is outrageous. Namor shouted, leaping to his feet. You can't do this. I am the king of Atlantis. Peter's hand glowed with enhanced strength and magic. Sit down, Namor. Namor lunged, his fist aimed at Peter's face. He never made contact. A massive hand grabbed him by the collar and slammed him into the ground. An orc chieftain stood over Namor, his face filled with disgust. You call yourself a king? The orc growled. You are nothing but a coward. A bully who preys on those weaker than you. Namor's rib cage cracked under the impact. He lay on the ground, gasping for breath, his pride shattered. "This is the king of Atlantis," the orc chieftain said, looking down at him with contempt. Pathetic. The heroes who believed. Not all heroes had failed Peter. Some had stood by him even when everyone else had abandoned him. Wade Wilson, Deadpool, was the first to approach. "Peter, buddy, pal, you're back. And you're looking, well, you're looking exactly the same, but somehow cooler. Is that a thing? Can you be cooler without changing your appearance? I feel like that's a thing." Peter couldn't help but smile. "Wade, it's good to see you." "Good to see you too, man. I missed you. The city was boring without you. I mean, I still did my thing. You know, killing bad guys, making inappropriate jokes, breaking the fourth wall, but it wasn't the same." Moon Knight approached, his expression solemn. "Peter, I'm sorry. I should have done more. You did what you could, Mark. That's all anyone can do." Doctor Strange bowed his head. "I failed you, Peter. I should have sensed the deception. I should have known. You can't sense everything, Steven. You're not omniscient. And you tried to help when you could." Blade and Ghost Rider nodded in agreement. "You're a good man, Peter," Blade said. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Hope and Kamala were crying. "Teacher," Hope whispered, "we tried to find you. We looked everywhere." "I know, Hope. I know." Chapter 11, Unbalanced. The merged world was far from perfect. Sure, the immediate chaos had subsided. The villains had been beaten back. The dimensional collapse had stabilized. But beneath the surface, old prejudices and new tensions simmered. Discrimination against elves, beastmen, orcs, and dwarves was rampant. Humans who had never seen magic before feared what they didn't understand. And the heroes who had once been celebrated were now reviled. But Peter Vaughn, no longer Peter Parker, no longer Spider-Man, was determined to make things right. The fall of empires, the collapse of the Illuminati had sent shockwaves through the world. Tony Stark's companies, Reed Richards Enterprises, and Hank Pym's research facilities all crumbled. Their reputations were destroyed, their assets seized, their influence gone. "Good riddance," Kenichi Hamada said, reviewing the financial reports. "Their arrogance was their downfall." Peter nodded. "But their resources can be used for something better. Something that actually helps people." He made a decision. He would buy out the remnants of their companies and build something new, something that served the people, not the egos of a few arrogant individuals. The Trade Federation was born. It wasn't just a company. It was a philosophy. A belief that commerce could be a force for good, that resources could be shared equitably, that people of all races could work together for a better future. "The rules are simple," Peter announced at the Trade Federation's founding. "No discrimination. If you're human, elf, dwarf, orc, beastman, it doesn't matter. You're welcome here. You'll be treated fairly. And you'll be paid a living wage." The response was overwhelming. Thousands of people, from all races and backgrounds, applied to join. The Trade Federation grew rapidly, its influence spreading across the merged world. Building a better world. Peter's vision extended beyond commerce. He used the Trade Federation's resources to build homeless shelters, providing housing and support for those who had lost everything in the dimensional merge. He developed clean energy sources, replacing the polluting technologies of the old world. He funded environmental restoration projects, cleaning up the trash and pollution that had accumulated over decades of neglect. "We're not just building a company," he told his employees. "We're building a future. A future where everyone has a chance to succeed. A future where no one is left behind." The Trade Federation's headquarters became a symbol of hope. It was a massive complex of glass and stone, its architecture a blend of modern technology and fantasy craftsmanship. Solar panels lined the roofs. Magical crystals hummed with energy. People of all races worked side by side, their differences celebrated rather than feared. The spice trade. One of the Trade Federation's most successful ventures was the spice trade. Peter had discovered early on that spices were a valuable commodity in the fantasy world, and he had established a network of suppliers and distributors. Now, with the merged world, he expanded that network. "We have access to spices from 3 different worlds," he explained to his trade partners. "Each one has unique flavors and properties. We can sell them to chefs, alchemists, and healers all across the world." The spices were a massive success. Chefs from Earth 616 discovered exotic flavors they had never imagined. Alchemists from Azeroth found new ingredients for their potions. Healers from the fantasy realm discovered remedies that had been lost to time. The Trade Federation's profits soared. But Petter was careful to reinvest the money back into the community. He funded schools, hospitals, and infrastructure projects. He provided grants for small businesses and scholarships for promising students. The X is desperation, but not everything was smooth sailing. Mary Jane Watson, Gwen Stacy, and the other women who had once been part of Peter Parker's life had not given up. They approached Petter at every opportunity, begging for forgiveness, pleading for another chance. "Peter, please," Mary Jane said, tears streaming down her face. "I know I made mistakes. I know I hurt you. But I love you. I've always loved you. Please, just give me another chance." Petter looked at her with cold eyes. "You didn't love me. You loved what I could give you. You loved the idea of Spider-Man. But you never loved the real me." "That's not true." "It is true. And I'm done pretending it's not." He raised his hand and gave her the middle finger. "Now go fuck off. I have nothing to do with any of you damn dirty sluts." Mary Jane's face crumpled. Gwen Stacy gasped. The other women looked devastated. "You can't mean that," Gwen whispered. "We shared so much." "We shared nothing," Petter interrupted. "You were part of my past. A past I want nothing to do with. I've moved on. I've found people who actually care about me. And I'm not going to let you drag me back into that toxic cesspool of a life." He turned and walked away, leaving the women sobbing behind him. The Exodus. The hero organizations were collapsing. The Avengers were disbanded. The Fantastic Four were no more. The X-Men were in disarray. The Web Warriors had lost their way. Many heroes quit, disgusted by the corruption and hypocrisy they had witnessed. They joined the Trade Federation instead, becoming adventurers who used their skills to help people rather than serve their own egos. "I can't believe I wasted so many years on that nonsense," one former Avenger said, shaking his head. "I thought I was making a difference. But I was just a pawn in someone else's game." "You're not a pawn anymore," Petter told him. "You're free to make your own choices. To help people in your own way." The former heroes learned to use mana, embracing the magical energies of the merged world. They became adventurers, protecting the innocent, fighting monsters, and exploring the new world that had been created. A moment of peace. Despite the chaos, Petter found moments of peace. One evening, he sat in his penthouse suite, looking out over the city. The merged world was a breathtaking sight, skyscrapers and castles, highways and forests, all existing side by side. The twin moons of his fantasy realm hung in the sky alongside the familiar stars of Earth 616. Eleanor entered the room quietly, her trunk gently brushing against his shoulder. "You're thinking again." "I'm always thinking," Petter said with a tired smile. "About what?" "About the future. About whether this will last. About whether we can really make things better." Eleanor moved behind him, her strong hands finding his shoulders. She began to massage the tension from his muscles, her touch warm and comforting. "You've done so much, Petter," she murmured. "You've built an empire. You've helped thousands of people. You've given hope to those who had none." "It's not enough," he said quietly. "There's still so much to do." "There will always be more to do," Eleanor said. "But that doesn't mean you haven't already made a difference. Look at the world around you. Look at the people you've helped. They're alive. They're safe. They have hope. That's because of you." Petter leaned back into her touch, his eyes closing. "I don't know what I'd do without you, Eleanor." "You'll never have to find out," she said, pressing a kiss to his forehead. "I'm not going anywhere." A new beginning. Petter looked out the window again, his eyes tracing the skyline of the merged world. It was chaotic, imperfect, full of challenges and uncertainties. But it was also full of potential. Full of hope. Full of people who were willing to work together to build something better. "This is just the beginning," he murmured. Eleanor's trunk wrapped around his shoulders. "I know. And I'll be right beside you every step of the way." Petter smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile that reached his eyes. He had come so far from the broken man who had thrown his Spider-Man suit into a dumpster. He had found a new life, new friends, new purpose. He was no longer Peter Parker. He was no longer Spider-Man. He was Petter Vaughn. And he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The legacy. The Trade Federation continued to grow. Its influence spread across the merged world, its reputation for fairness and integrity unmatched. Peter's vision of a world without discrimination, without poverty, without fear, was slowly becoming a reality. But Peter knew that the work was never truly done. There would always be challenges. There would always be people who tried to tear down what others had built. There would always be those who chose fear over hope, division over unity. But he was ready. He had his friends, his family, his purpose. And he would never stop fighting for a better world. As the sun set over the merged world, Peter Von stood on the balcony of his penthouse, Eleanor at his side, and looked out at the future. This was just the beginning. And he was ready for whatever came next. Epilogue. New Age. Years later, the merged world had changed. What had once been a chaotic collision of three disparate realities had become something new, something beautiful. The cities of Earth 616 now stood alongside the castles of Azeroth and the fantastical architecture of the Isakai realm. Magic and technology coexisted, their boundaries blurring into something greater than the sum of their parts. And at the center of it all was Peter Von. The fall of crime. Crime had plummeted to 0.1% across the entire merged world. It was an unprecedented achievement, one that had seemed impossible in the early days of the merge. But Peter's Trade Federation had made it possible. Through economic opportunity, social programs, and a fair justice system that treated all races equally, the root causes of crime had been addressed. No one turns to crime when they have hope, Peter had said at a world summit. No one steals when they have food. No one fights when they have peace. We didn't just punish criminals, we created a world where crime was no longer necessary. The world had listened, and the world had changed. A new family. Peter's personal life had flourished as well. He had married Eleanor, the Elephantkin who had saved his life and captured his heart. Their wedding had been a grand affair, attended by dignitaries from all three worlds. Orcs and elves sat side by side with humans and beastmen, celebrating the union of two souls who had found each other against all odds. "You look beautiful," Peter had whispered to Eleanor as they exchanged vows. She had smiled, her trunk gently caressing his cheek. "And you look handsome, my love." But Eleanor was not the only woman in Peter's life. Malo Primula, the noblewoman from the Isakai realm who had become one of his closest allies, had also become his partner. Their relationship was unexpected but natural, born of mutual respect and shared vision. "I never imagined I would love two people so deeply," Peter admitted one evening, as Eleanor and Malo sat beside him. Eleanor's trunk wrapped around his arm. "Love is not a finite resource. It grows, it expands, and it makes us stronger." Malo nodded, her hand resting on his shoulder. "We chose you, Peter. And we will always choose you." The children. Peter had two children. The first was Ethan, a boy of mixed heritage. His mother was Eleanor, and his features reflected both his human and Elephantkin lineage. He had his mother's warm eyes and gentle nature, and his father's intelligence and curiosity. "Father, can you show me how to build a robot?" Ethan asked one day, his eyes wide with excitement. Peter laughed, ruffling his son's hair. "When you're older. For now, let's start with something simpler. How about a wooden bird?" Ethan's face lit up. "A wooden bird? Can it fly?" "Only if we build it right." The second child was Marilla, a daughter born of Peter's relationship with Malo Primula. She was a beautiful girl with her mother's noble bearing and her father's determined spirit. She loved stories, especially the stories of her father's adventures in his old life. "Tell me about the bad man who stole your body," Marilla said one night, snuggled up against her father. Peter's expression grew thoughtful. His name was Otto Octavius. And yes, he did a terrible thing. But in the end, he couldn't win. Because he didn't understand what truly makes someone a hero. What does make someone a hero? Not power, Peter said. Not fame. Not being the strongest or the smartest. It's about being willing to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. Even when no one believes in you. Even when you're all alone. Marilla's eyes shone with admiration. "That's what you did, isn't it, Father?" "Sometimes," Peter admitted. "And sometimes I failed. But I never stopped trying. And that's what matters." The Trade Federation. The Trade Federation had become the most powerful economic force in the merged world. Its reach extended across every continent, its influence felt in every sector. But unlike the corporations of old, the Trade Federation was built on fairness and integrity. We don't exploit, Petter explained at a board meeting. We don't manipulate. We don't destroy lives for profit. We build. We create. We uplift. The Federation's policies were revolutionary. Workers were paid fair wages. Environmental protections were strict. Communities were given a voice in decisions that affected them. The economies of all three worlds had stabilized and grown. Trade routes connected distant lands, bringing prosperity to even the most remote regions. People who had once been enemies now worked side by side, their differences forgotten in the pursuit of a better future. The New Age. Petter stood on the balcony of his penthouse, looking out at the city he had helped build. It was a breathtaking sight, a blend of magic and technology, of fantasy and reality. The twin moons hung in the sky alongside the familiar stars of Earth-616. The streets below were filled with people of all races, living together in peace. Eleanor appeared beside him, her trunk wrapping around his arm. "What are you thinking about?" "About how far we've come," Petter said softly. "About everything that happened. About everything that could have been different." "But it's not different," Eleanor said. "It's exactly as it should be." Petter smiled. "You're right. It is." Malo joined them, her hand resting on his shoulder. "The children are asleep." Ethan was asking about robots again. "He's obsessed," Petter laughed. "He's your son. It's to be expected." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. The world below them hummed with life, a testament to what was possible when people worked together. A reflection. Petter thought about the journey that had brought him here. The pain of his old life. The betrayal of people he had trusted. The loss of everything he had ever loved. And then the second chance. The new world. The new life. He thought about the friends he had made, Kenichi, who had become his business partner and closest ally. Eleanor, who had saved his life and stolen his heart. Malo, who had shown him that love could be found in unexpected places. And all the others who had helped him build something new. He thought about the enemies he had faced, the villains who had tried to tear everything down, the so-called heroes who had betrayed him, the systems of oppression that had once seemed insurmountable. And he thought about how he had overcome them all. "Sometimes I can't believe it's real," he admitted. "Sometimes I think I'll wake up and find myself back in that cheap hotel room, with nothing but a crumpled suit and a broken heart." Eleanor's trunk caressed his cheek. "It's real, Petter. This is your life, your family, your future." Malo nodded. "And we will never leave you. Never betray you. Never hurt you." Petter's eyes glistened with emotion. "I know. And that's why this is the best life I could ever have imagined." The new age begins. The sun rose over the merged world, casting golden light across the city. Petter, Eleanor, and Malo stood together, watching the dawn of a new day. This was the new age. An age of peace, prosperity, and hope. An age where people of all races could live together in harmony. An age where the mistakes of the past were lessons, not chains. "Are you ready?" Eleanor asked. Petter nodded slowly. "I'm ready." They turned and walked back into the penthouse, their future stretching out before them like an endless horizon. It was a new age. And it was just the beginning. And this is the end of this What If. I hope you guys like it. Do not forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.